All right, this update is brought to you by Taco Bell. Padres spring training today. Cactus League play versus the A's. They won 5-3. Jackson Merrill went 0 for 3. Wusa Go made his spring training debut, pitching a scoreless inning, striking out 2. Next up for the Padres, they take on the Angels tomorrow back in Peoria. 12:10 first pitch time there. Taco Bell's new Cravings value menu.
And the Brian Dutcher show is tonight at 6 p.m.
Stay Thursday? Today's Thursday. Brian Dutcher Show, 6 p.m. Taco Bell's new Craving Value menu is a big deal, or rather, it's 10 big deals, from new items like the loaded nachos to familiar favorites like the spicy potato soft taco. Check it out at a participating Taco Bell location near you, available for a limited time only while supplies last.
All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? Hour 1 of Jon and Jim. Really good show lined up for you over the next couple of hours. We're with you until 6, then the Brian Dutcher show. Jim, what would you do without, would you have your head if it wasn't attached to your body?
Probably not.
What would you do without Aaron? What would you do without me? What would you do without Brent?
It'd be
Mom.
It would be a disaster. I'm kind of wondering, how I made it to this point.
So am I.
When I did not have Aaron, or pretty much Aaron. Yeah. If I didn't have Aaron, what was I doing? I was in a garage.
You were without air conditioning or
living
something.
My life, I guess.
You had no internet. You were in a garage.
Sitting there.
Exactly.
That's just what I was doing.
So you've had a big upgrade over the last year.
Massive
despite the fact that you're dealing with kidney stone.
Massive upgrade.
J.R. Tolver is going to join us at 3:30. San Diego State's football schedule is out for 2024. We couldn't fit in the update, but we'll talk to J.R. Tolver about it coming up at 3:30. I'm kidding. So J.R. Tolver, the former Aztec, the Aztec for life, will join us at 3:30. Alan Sliwa, the Lakers, this remarkable comeback last night against the Clippers. Alan, Lakers talk. He will join us at 5 p.m. So you mentioned that the Padres win today in the Cactus League. They're 4-4. You know who you are if you wrote them off when they were 0-3. All of a sudden, they're 4-4. We're kidding. But it's not an elephant in the room.
Apologize.
It's not an elephant in the room because it's all we've talked about is Jackson Merrill.
All we've talked about.
It's all we've talked about. So it's not an elephant in the room. It's an elephant in the room you don't talk about.
But to be fair, it's not because we have decided that Jackson Merrill is everything that we're going to be talking about. The Padres and the initiative from the Padres organization through everything, right, has been about Jackson Merrill.
Well, I mean, it's that's because think about the offseason. You traded Juan Soto. You don't have Blake Snell. You don't have Josh Hader. I mean, last year they acquired Xander Bogaerts, and Juan Soto was coming into his first camp with the Padres. They're just not the same storylines. I understand there being attention on Jackson Merrill, but all of a sudden you look up, and I've said before, spring training is not the greatest place to evaluate. You could hit 400 in spring and not be good, or you could hit 100 in spring and be good. But you look up, and everything that's been said and written, and he's 2 for 11. So, everything that's been said and written, and he's got 2 hits on the spring, and they leave for Korea in 13 days. So, does it matter? Are we looking the other way on that? Because we were willing to, when he had the 2 hits in the game, singled the other way, it scored 2 runs, doubled off the base of the left field wall. It was this guy's Herculean. He's Ruthian. Nobody can do what Jackson Merrill's doing. Well, the truth is he's 2 for 11. So does it matter or does it not? Are we just going to put him on the big league roster because they need him or he's deserving of it regardless of 15 darn spring training games? Or does he actually have to do something beyond what people are saying about him? Does he actually need to produce this spring to get onto this team or not?
I think we were kind of told by Mike Schilt that these type of things with the young players, they're going to have to earn their way onto the roster. They're not just going to be given spots, even though I think at this point in time, it's pretty clear to all of us that and reading everything that we've read, it would be a shock if the season started tomorrow, Jackson Merrill wasn't on this opening day roster.
I agree with you. Yes.
He would need to just look horrific in the rest of spring training to not be on this opening day roster, I feel like.
That's what we've read and heard, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Other than him going 0 for his entire rest of spring training.
Is that what it would say?
He's going to be on this roster.
Okay.
I am just of the mindset of for such a young player, I want to see him I actually want to see him emphatically make it so the Padres don't have any other choice.
Earn it.
And not saying that he's not going to, because there's still a good amount of spring left. But when you say good amount of spring, you're like, well, there's 13 days, 12 days.
Yeah, right. Because you were right. There were 13 games yesterday when you said it. So there's 12 now.
They're not taking him. Like once we hit the day of March 13th, when they're going to leave for Korea, he's either going to Korea or not. If he goes to Korea, he's on this team. If he doesn't, he's not.
What if he goes to Korea and they're like, no, you're not on the team?
I'd be like, send me home.
Right. They're sending 31 to Korea. 26 are active. He's absolutely one of the 31 going to Korea. Absolutely.
100%. There's no doubt in my mind about that.
But I'm with you because it felt like Tatis fully earned it in 2019.
Now, you know, you say that, and I actually looked up Fernando Tatis Jr.'s
Am I right or wrong?
Numbers in spring training, and they were average. Not saying
Interesting.
That hitting 240 with like a 770 OPS is at like.
Is that what it was?
Yeah. Look it up.
No, I don't even. Spring training stats are so annoying. I mean, maybe it proves the point that we've all been making, that who even cares what you do in spring training? Tatis right now in spring training hasn't done anything. Who cares? You've already seen him in the major leagues. Or again, Merrill could hit 500 this spring. Still possible. He's only had 11 at-bats. It doesn't guarantee him having success in the major leagues. So maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe we're just doing this because you're trying to give guys reps and you're trying to stretch out pitchers and you're trying to get guys into roles. And he doesn't even have to earn it. I mean, Jim, they have multiple vacancies on the team. Can he fill one of them? They have 2 outfield spots that are open. But the way that people are writing about him, even in the last couple of days, Jim, where it was, hey, he's doing some things that Tatis did in 2019. I'm like, how do we know that? He's only played in 4 games. How has he already done things that Tatis did in a full spring in 2019?
This is what Fernando Tatis did in 2019.
Okay.
21 games played. He had 54 at-bats.
That's a lot.
He hit 241 with a 761 OPS. He hit 2 home runs, 3 doubles, a triple, 4 RBIs, 6 walks, 15 strikeouts, 2 stolen bases.
Okay, fair point. Yeah.
But, you know, looking at Jackson Merrill this spring, we talked about yesterday, I want to see him as much as possible.
Yep.
I want to see him every day. I want to see him all the time.
Well, he's started 5 of 8 games, which is a good workload.
Very
for
good.
Spring training.
And hopefully that continues. Of the next 13 days,
12 now.
12 days now, I want to see him at least start 9 of them.
Yeah, I agree.
Maybe 10.
Yep.
Like he's got to be out there. Give me the numbers. If you had 3 at bats every
9, he'd have another 27 at bats.
Okay.
And he's already had 11 ABs. He would have he'd have 40. But Tatis had more, but it was a longer spring. This is different.
Correct. Yeah. So in the next 40 plus at bats, what do you want to see from Jackson Merrill?
I think, to your point, I think he needs to get on base. I think he needs to do something with regularity. I mean, you'd like to see it, but I'm with you. I think it's a formality. I think they're putting him on the team, whether he goes 2 for his next 29 or 12 for his next 29. My guess is he's on the team. Even if you sign Tommy Pham, as you know, we've discussed and Dennis Lynn has written about and Darren Smith has talked about, and I think it's been all over it. And on top of it, even if that happens, and you could argue that that has a lot of merit for the Padres right now, that doesn't fix everything. That doesn't automatically slot Merrill in Double-A. I think even with Pham, there's going to be high interest in the organization to play Jackson Merrill in center field if you sign someone like Tommy Pham. That would be my guess.
Well, the thing would be is if they sign Tommy Pham, you would think, okay, this is going to then be the signal of like they don't think that Jackson Merrill's ready, which is not a bad thing, and that they needed a veteran guy to take that spot. Well, guess what? Tommy Pham wouldn't be blocking Jackson Merrill.
Exactly.
Like they're going to put Jackson Merrill presumably in center field. If Jose Azocar is a guy that that plays over Jackson Merrill to start the season, I don't see that happening.
Neither do I.
I just don't. So even if they do sign Tommy Pham, that to me doesn't even close to signal, oh, that means they think Jackson Merrill's not ready yet. That just means that they've come to their senses and realized that the other options they have for left field aren't good enough.
They have to. I mean, you have question marks even with a significant major league outfield signing. It almost is at the point for me where it's like a have to. not Pham specifically, but like the Michael A. Taylors or the Adam Duvals, someone that has service time, that has had a level of success, that can work with a younger group around them as well. It can't just be a Zokar and Marcy or Merrill and Marcy. I mean, you're asking so much of these players. You're putting way too much on their plates. If nothing else, you need a veteran major league outfielder to pair with the rest of this group. You just have to do it. And they've done so little in spending. I can't be convinced they don't have the money to do it.
Now, there's one thing about Jackson Merrill's spring so far that is a good point. Someone on Twitter mentioned
Okay, let me hear it.
Is that you could look at the numbers, 2 for 11, hit 180, whatever,
right,
has a 6 whatever OPS. Yep. Coming in today, he did have an 830 OPS. You know, it changes very quickly.
It changes every one at bat. Right.
He goes 3 for 3 his next game. Everyone's like, oh my God, look at spring training numbers.
Right. He'd be 5 of 14. He'd be hitting 350.
Exactly. So that's okay. Yep. I get that.
Yeah.
The one thing I do that this person on X and Twitter said is that he's only struck out one time. That's a positive. If you want to look at the positives here for Jackson Merrill at the plate, striking out only one time, makes a lot of contact.
Right.
Gonna get on base. He has 3 walks already this spring. Those are good things. I just think for such a young player to look up at the scoreboard and see he's hitting 182.
Mm-hmm.
That's, and for him, I bet there's some pressure on him. He might not come off and say that he feels the pressure, but you got to think that he knows what's in front of him. He knows that he is basically given this opportunity and given this spot, and he doesn't have to really compete with anybody else. So of course you're going to want to go out there and prove the organization right. Of course you're going to want to go out there and hit 350 in spring training and make the organization look smart for putting you in center field with such little time in the minor leagues.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that it will play a factor here. I don't know. There's still a good amount of time left, and I put that on Twitter today as like, what if Jackson Merrill has struggles in spring training? I think a lot of people misconstrued that as, oh, Jim, he's not struggling. It's so early. Like, no. I asked the question, what if he struggles in spring? Not that he is struggling in spring, even though you can make that case as well right now with him hitting 182. But what if he struggles in spring? Then what are the Padres going to do? Are they going to say, screw it, we don't care, and put him at the big league level? And now you have a 20-year-old starting in the majors that hit 220 in spring. I mean, is that like a guy like booming of confidence?
No, but it's like, to your point, I mean, Tatis in 2019 hit 241 and it didn't seem to be a problem for him, but everyone's different. Like Ben Fadden replies to your tweet, talking Friar.
Oh yeah, calls ass out.
And says, remember someone who had a bad spring right before his rookie season? Could be wrong, but I think his first name was Shohei. He ended up being okay.
Okay.
Oh, there's examples for everything, obviously, but any comps are basically unwarranted. You can't compare Jackson Merrill to Fernando Tatis Jr. You can't compare Jackson Merrill to Eric Hosmer or Will Myers or, of course, Shohei Ohtani. I mean, there's examples, like I said, to start the show. Guys have good springs, have bad years. Guys have bad springs, have good years. Rookies, you understand it. There's examples of everything. There have been thousands of guys that have played in the major leagues, but I mean, there's certain things, like, I don't want to compare him to a Tatis. No. Because what Tatis has done, I mean, Tatis has earned a $340 million contract. You could argue the merits of it or what's happened since he got the deal. Or Shohei Ohtani is actually a one-of-one player in the history of the sport.
And it doesn't really help that every day the spring training goes by, you see a James Wood home run. Like it just doesn't make things any better for you.
And you forget, like Dennis told Darren earlier today, that like when the Nationals made that trade, the Padres probably could have kept either Jackson Merrill or James Wood.
That is what I took from the interview there, is that they chose Jackson Merrill over James Wood. Potentially. Maybe the Nationals, if maybe the Padres offered Jackson Merrill, and they're like, no, we want James Wood.
Yeah.
Not a like either or type of situation. Mm-hmm. We'll never know probably. But if that's the case, that they chose Jackson Merrill over James Wood, those two career paths, we'll see what happens.
Right.
We'll see what happens. We'll see how James Wood does with the Nationals. He's tearing the cover off the ball in spring training. It is spring training. See what happens. But, if Jackson Merrill struggles and James Wood with the Nationals turns out to be a superstar or a guy that hits, 40 home runs in a season, and we go back to what Dennis Lin said today, that's just another like punch in the gut if you're a Padres fan, like another player that AJ Preller chose over this guy and that guy that he didn't choose ends up tearing the cover off the ball?
Maybe. Like you said, that might go through your
maybe.
mind, and that's fair to go through your mind. You're spot on. Like, that's fair to go through your mind, and we'll see how it plays out. These kids are 20. Like, I don't know how old James Wood is. He's not old, but Jackson Merrill is 20. Ben Fadden has replied. Okay, so he's in the chat on YouTube. Mm-hmm. He says, remember Tim Lopes, Jim? Do you? He doesn't say Jim, but do you remember him?
Oh, I remember.
Oh, you
him.
Remember this spring. You were all over every at-bat of his.
I was, yeah.
He hit over 300 in the spring. And then what happened, Jim?
Never heard from him again.
It can go both ways. I care about the quality of his ABs, the work he's putting in, et cetera, and we don't see all of that. But we also don't know all of that. You know, and it's not always a straight line. Like I'll give you an example, Ben, and I think you'll agree with this. Jake Cronenworth didn't struggle last year for a lack of trying. He just didn't. That is not the reason Jake Cronenworth struggled.
It's all not because try.
Right. It's not because he wasn't getting in extra work or it wasn't quality at bats. Like, because the sport is hard. Yeah. And there's a lot of nuance that goes into it and variance. And man, you can go from really good to not that good overnight. And we've seen it with great players, all-star caliber players. It's tough. How many times do you hear Manny Machado say it'll humble you? Same thing with Fernando Tatis Jr. These guys were born to play the game. So there's a lot that goes into it. I hope Jackson Merrill succeeds the second he gets in the big leagues, but I hope the Padres give him a chance to succeed. Mm-hmm. Are they setting him up for success or not? That's the question. Nobody's saying they know the answer one way or the other. But the question is this: is a 20-year-old moved off his position that's being asked to be more than just some random guy in a lineup, being set up to succeed as a regular on the San Diego Padres?
These are all 100% fair questions that we're asking and talking points and thinking about this instead of just going one-sided and saying that Jackson Merrill is the next coming of so-and-so.
Right.
You know, like, do we all hope that happens? Like, absolutely. But I'm just telling you that these questions are legitimate and we're asking it because of the circumstance the Padres are in.
Mm-hmm.
We're asking it because of how little time Jackson Merrill's been in the minor leagues. We're asking it because of a completely new position he's going to be playing in the majors this year. That's why we're asking these questions. We weren't asking these questions about Fernando Tatis Jr. You know why? Because Fernando Tatis Jr. put up really good numbers in the minors. He had a lot of time in the minors compared to what Jackson Merrill is. He was older than, or no, he wasn't 19. Sorry, he was younger. He also came up and it was like, whoa. Like, I'm sorry, and this is not a knock against Jackson Merrill. It's not. He's not Fernando Tatis Jr. But when's been that moment where like, whoa?
No, that's actually an interesting point because let's be honest. Like, if you're comparing like the tools of Tatis coming up, for example, like Scout Talk to the tools of Merrill, I don't think you'd be comparing the players identically. I don't think you'd say it's 1 and 1A. That's not to say Merrill can't develop into an all-star caliber outfielder.
A really I have good no player idea. That has good contact and gets on base a lot. Like,
he could be a power hitter. He's 20. He's clearly grown. He had 15 home runs last year. That's not a bad number at all in the minor leagues. So he could hit for some level of power. But like, you have to be reasonable. He's never been. How about this? He's never been the best player yet on his team in the minor leagues. Mm-hmm. So like, he's got things to prove to people, does he not? That's the point. He's got things he needs to prove to people, including Padres fans, probably including himself. And I think if he makes the team, he wants to be helping the team. Who wants to make the team and then struggle? Like, I want him to make the team if he's earned it and if he's ready. And if the Padres deem him ready and that he's earned it, okay, put him on the team. It's not the end-all be-all. It's not Jackson Merrill's fault if they're great or if they're bad. Like, that's not, Jackson Merrill's not accountable for them starting 30-10 or 10-30, but it's, again, something that should be considered.
Yeah, I mean, Tatis in the minors, like, I'm just looking at his 2017-18 season.
Yep. Was he good?
He was good. You know, he had 22 home runs in 2017, 16 in 2018. He had a 877 OPS in 2017, 862 OPS with a 507 slug in 2018. And I don't even want to compare Jackson Merrill to Fernando Tatis.
I don't think it's fair to Merrill.
Because it's not fair. Exactly. It's not fair to Merrill because we have said, and I think everybody knows this, like, Tatis, when coming up, was a one of one.
Mm-hmm.
You know, how many times have we talked to like the David Jays of the world, everybody in the minor leagues, yes, they've all said that Jackson Merrill is really good. And there's been moments where like, oh, Jackson Merrill, like you could see it.
Yeah, definitely.
But is it this raving over like hype of like, dude, just wait, like it was with Tatis? It's not.
I agree with you. And also this reminds me of something I've been told in radio before. It's like it's about consistency. It's
Mhm.
not about flashes.
No.
It's not about hitting a home run. It's about getting on base consistently. Every player is capable of everything in a vacuum, in a bat. Jose Azocar's hit a home run.
Yeah.
We've seen who was the dude with 5 or 6 walk-offs we were talking about yesterday.
Jorge Alfaro.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean Jorge Alfaro was a regular
Right.
for the Padres or a regular on a winning team. So I just want to see him be consistent.
Yeah.
And to this point, and again, to be fair, it's only been a handful of days of spring training, and one way or the other, you probably haven't seen enough because how can you be consistent when you've only had a handful of games? But he's played a handful of games. He's had a hit in one game. That's what's happened. That's just the truth.
Yeah.
He's had a hit in one game.
And it's because we want Jackson Merrill to succeed. Everybody wants Jackson Merrill to succeed.
Right.
There's just a worry there that are they taking the right steps to ensure that he's given the best possible opportunity to succeed? Or is it a situation where they could be rushing him and that could be a problem? And if it is like deemed like they rushed him, how is Jackson Merrill going to respond? They're expected to contend this year because that's what they told us. And is Jackson Merrill and the guys that they have on this roster right now enough for them to contend?
Yeah, and again, that's not Jackson Merrill's problem.
No.
That's AJ Preller's problem.
100%.
Because Jackson Merrill could have a really good year, but if the team isn't complete, then again, Jackson Merrill's not leading them individually to the postseason. It takes 26. Look at what the Angels have done for years. They've had great players individually. Great. And what has it gotten them? Nothing. So it takes more than star-studded rosters. We know that locally in San Diego. We've seen star-studded teams. Sometimes it's worked, other times it does not. It's about spots 18 through 26, which we have no clue about right now.
None.
Nor do they.
No. Well, they probably do, but they're just
starter 4, starter 5, bench 2, 3, 4, left field, center field, DH. There's 8.
Yeah.
And so maybe it's more than that.
You just as spring training goes on the next 12 days, I think you're going to need to have to see at least some type of moments from Jackson Merrill at the plate where you're like,
yeah.
And not just like one singular moment like he had a couple days ago. Like the consistency part of it, like you're talking about, John, where you're like, oh, okay, now I see it.
I agree.
Versus like major league pitching, like we talked about at bats in spring training, if a guy goes 2 for 2 with 2 home runs,
who was it against?
Who was it against? What time of the game did he split? Did he have an at bat versus a major league pitcher or number 97?
Right. All right, on the other side, J.R. Tolliver is going to swing by the Aztec for Life. San Diego State's 2024 football schedule released earlier today. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the Aztec Link Collective. We'll talk about San Diego State football in 2024 with J.R. Tolliver. On the other side, it's Jon and Jim. All right, Jared Tolver will join us on the other side, the Aztec for life. What does he make of the San Diego State 2024 football schedule that was released earlier today? We'll catch up with JR next.
All right, this update's brought to you by. They beat the Oakland A's, John. They're on a roll in Cactus League spring training right now. 5-3. Jackson Merrill went 0 for 3. Woosuck Go made his spring training debut, pitching a scoreless inning, striking out 2. And tonight is the Brian Dutcher Coaches Show, 6 p.m. right here on San Diego Sports 760 with John and Coach Dutch. And the Aztecs, they released their football schedule today. We'll talk about that with Jared Tolver coming up next. Taco Bell's new Cravings Value menu is a big deal, or rather, it's 10 big deals, from new items like the loaded nachos to familiar favorites like the spicy potato soft taco. Check it out at a participating Taco Bell today. Available for a limited time only while supplies last.
Let me text Jared Tolver. There's an issue with JR's phone. This has been going on for months. Where
Is it
we
his
can't
phone or is it
call
our
him,
phone?
but he can call. We don't know. I think it's his phone, right, Brent? Is that what we decided?
Yeah, every time I call him, it goes straight to his voicemail.
Huh. All right, let's quickly get to Tim, who's been patient. He wants to weigh in on the Padres. We'll see if we can catch up with Jared Tolver, Aztec for life. San Diego State's 2024 football schedule's out. It will be challenging. We knew it was going to be. We see it in print for the first time today. Let's go to Tim. He wants to weigh in on the Padres. Tim, you're on with Jon and Jim.
Gentlemen, how are you today?
How are you?
Good, good. Hey, listen to you almost every day driving home.
Thanks, man. Thanks.
And enjoy it. I certainly enjoy the Padres talk. And right now we're just speculating, right?
No doubt.
Yeah, pretty much.
Right. So let me speculate real quick, if I may. I believe the Padres will be stronger at 3 positions to start the season than they were last year, and worse at 1 position as far as the lineup goes. Okay? I believe that is addition by subtraction.
The 3 positions are real quick.
They're going to be better in center field because Christian is gone.
Okay.
You or I can be better than Christian.
Okay.
They're going to be better at pitcher because Nola's gone.
Okay.
Okay, and they're going to be better at DH because they couldn't wait to get rid of those 2 guys. And I understand their DH is going to be in the middle of the lineup. I get that. But it's going to be one of the off-day pitchers, or it's going to be profile to start, or one of the outfielders, or corner infielder. Okay? And we got the 5 guys coming back. Okay, if those guys, 5 guys coming back, and are 2 starting pitchers, if they don't perform better than they did last year, it doesn't matter who the other 4 guys are, gentlemen. If those guys don't have a better year, Machado, Speed, Bogarts, Cronenworth, they're not going to be any better. And I like the fact that we're going to get to root for some of these young guys. I understand what you're saying about Merrill, that he may or may not be ready, but it's about time we get to root for some of these homegrown kids and find out if they can play or not.
That's a fair point, Tim. Tim, we're going to get to where it's over, but appreciate the call. We'll get back to it coming up at about 3:45. But thank you for weighing in. All right, JR is with us. Aztec for life, head volunteer, Aztec Link. San Diego State's 2024 football schedule is out. JR, always good to catch up. We knew that the schedule was going to be tricky. We see it today on paper, and Oregon State, game with Cal, conference slate. You're going to Boise. You have Wyoming for the first time since the Mountain Championship game. It's been that long for San Diego State. So what's your first thoughts on this 2024 schedule that the Aztecs are going to play?
My first thought, to be honest with you, man, it's pretty cool that we have two home games in the early part of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think people are going to be really, really, really excited to see what this Aztec football team is going to bring to the table with Coach Lewis coming. So that's really my first thought. Outside of the wins and the losses, going down the schedule and saying, hey, we should win this one. This one's going to be tough. I just think having energy in Snapdragon Stadium over the first couple of weeks is something that it's going to be the biggest event in San Diego sports when those games are.
For Sean Lewis, to start his tenure here, I know he hasn't played a game yet, but just the feeling around this program, for you, how would you describe it? How is it differ from maybe the past year?
San Diego is often the years that the Chargers were as good as they were, it was exciting as it was because you had unbelievable offensive production. Damian Tomlinson goes out, breaks the rushing record in the NFL with 26 touchdowns. You have Phillip Rivers and Antonio Gates who, basically lit up the sky. You got the Darren Sproles. Offense really energized the San Diego market. So that's why I think we're all excited now. Coach Lewis, we're not all as familiar with him. We're familiar with Colorado, and I think there was such a spotlight in Colorado when he did last year that the entire country saw Coach Lewis. Maybe they didn't know Coach Lewis today. I'm one of those people that really didn't know who Coach Lewis was or what his body of work was. But I very vividly remember watching Colorado Buffalo light up the offensive scoreboard against TCU and light up the offensive scoreboard against Colorado State those first couple of games and thinking, holy crap, that is a dynamic offense. Well, hey, San Diego, that's our guy. Our guy is the guy that knows how to go out and put points on the board. And I think that vibes really well and aligns really well with the culture of San Diego community and what we're used to, what we're used to expect when it comes to the type of ball.
JR, what I think is cool, JR Tolliver is with us, Aztec for life, head volunteer, Aztec. We can get to that as well. What I think is cool is Oregon State and Washington State at home. You're typically maybe you're getting, not maybe, San Diego State is home. And I know Oregon State and Washington State are kind of in limbo right now. Both of those involved, you can go to Cal. But to have two quote-unquote power games that were on schedule is pretty deep.
It really is. And I think Oregon State will be early in the year, and that Washington State game kind of comes in between a couple of these games. Normally, once the Aztecs tend to start league, they kind of play through the league. So, and listen, with the expansion of this college football playoff, you got 3 Power 5 opponents on your team with Oregon State, Washington State, and Cal. I mean, you put yourself in a position to do something special right out of the gate. And again, I think the ability to put points on the board and be explosive offensively not only makes you look good when it comes to beating teams, but I don't know, it's exciting. So again, I'm just really, really excited about line, some really big time kids on the defensive side of the ball. Very, very excited about, guys like Cole and Kansas and to see what they're able to do. But I think in San Diego, I think it starts with that offensive production, and I think we put ourselves back in a position to succeed.
I know it's early, JR. We don't even know what the team starting quarterback's going to be for this season. You just see the schedule today. But for you, what do you think a realistic expectation is for Sean Lewis's first year on this team?
So you want the fan first, or you want the analyst first?
I want the analyst first. Fan first, and the team is going into the college football playoff, and we'll see what Alabama or whatever. Yeah.
Straight to the playoffs.
Exactly.
No, so listen, I think the first two games will dictate the next step, right? If you look at Texas Commerce, the teams that are coming now, we don't know much about them. Aztecs fans, we haven't seen much about them. But I'll tell you about Texas football. You're always going to get some bounce backs to every school in Texas because Texas is like California, producing so many great football players. So you got to come out and you got to play a good game against Texas Commerce. You got to figure out a way to win that football game. But like Jim likes to say, that
Right.
not a pretty win. And then you get Oregon State involved. Oregon, obviously, Oregon State have a revamped roster. They lost DJU, transferred out. So they're going to have a revamped roster. But they're a big game. Figure out a way to win pretty game one and grind out a win in game two. I think you put yourself in a position to get and to do some things that maybe fans want to see. But, maybe you don't expect to do it. I think if you win out of the gate those first two games, you put yourself on that kind of course in terms of the rest of that schedule. You still got some tough games on that schedule. I really believe that the Aztecs can start off hot. They can go, 2-0 in the first two games of the season. They put themselves in a position to win, to get back on track, win 8-9 games, 16 games over the course of 2024.
JR, before you go, I don't know if you realize this, tomorrow is March. And of course, you have a partnership with Lamont Butler. Shine, right? Yeah, Butler at thebuzzer.com. We talked about this at the start of the basketball season. This is a really cool partnership that supports San Diego State student athletes through Aztec Link. So I guess my question is this: how are things going with the collective? Aztec.com for more information. But also, are there still any collectibles available? March is here. We know what Lamont did last year. How can our listeners pick that up if it's still available?
Yeah, get over there for frame, autograph, numbered, limited edition, collectible that supports the name and the likeness of Lamont Butler and the name and the likeness of student athletes in San Diego State. We've done a great job. And we've done awesome. We had 255 clips. I think we have 70 left. And so our goal is to go now in the basketball season. And there's going to be 455 Aztec fans. Because once that's over, it's over. We'll never, release or do anything like that again. I think that's a moment that means so much to so many San Diego State fans across the country. And it would be awesome if you could have that moment hanging up in your living room for eternity, like I have it hanging up in mine. So I'd say Butler at thebuzzer.com. Go there, purchase a piece of Aztec history, and know that it's supporting the effort of Lamont Butler's NIL and also the NIL of other students at the State University.
Hanging in my bedroom. Not my living room, but in my bedroom. I don't know if Chris thinks about it.
When you go to bed at
No, it's not about the ceiling. On a side wall in the bedroom. Yeah. Follow us at culture.com. Limited edition of collectible years ago. Let's remain. Mark here, top them up before they're gone for awesome connections. We're doing it soon, and I think
South April 20th, Aztecs will be at Snapdragon Stadium. stadium during the spring game. It's going to be a free event for Aztec fans. I know we're kind of early, but I want to start putting that out there. It'd be phenomenal if San Diego fans could come out and see these little Aztecs support Coach Lewis and these players.
Love that. JR Cole for the Aztecs. Thank you, JR, for joining. All right, on the other side, back to the Padres spring training decisions. Leaving for Korea in 13 days. What decisions are looming? Great good call. Plus, Alan Sliwa covers the Lakers with an epic comeback last night. For LA against the Clippers with Joseph Coffey. All right, guys, this weekend you need to head down to the area Novo Brazil brewing locations. And again, over at the Novo Brazil brewing locations, they've got the brand new Aztec Raspberry Kombucha, which supports the Mesa Foundation Collective, which benefits San Diego State men's and women's basketball players. It's terrific. It tastes great. I love kombucha. It tastes that's on the Montalvo and Jimmy D of Lincoln Parish and other San Diego State student athletes. So make sure to pick that up. In addition to that, these are just great sports bars with great food, all of them, whether it's in my day or Otai Ranch, or brand new one in Mission Valley. They've got spectacular LED screens to watch all of the action. Obviously, March is on the other side of today, so make sure to check out the fresh spot in Mission Valley. It's now open. It seats 350 people. It is a great viewing experience for sports fans. They have a full bar menu, over 60 taps of Novo Brazil beer. They have the kombucha we've been telling you about, including the limited edition Aztec Raspberry Kombucha, benefiting the Mesa Foundation Collective, which benefits San Diego State student athletes. They have seltzers, but they've got great food. These are great places for the whole family. I brought myself, Jones, and my wife, Kristen. We're there all the time. You should be there as well. Great food, salads, sandwiches, tacos, burgers, empanadas, appetizers, Brazilian inspired entrees, and much, much more. So make sure to swing by this weekend. You're going to love these locations. I promise you that. And for more information, visit novobrew.com. novobrew.com. All right, so coming up at 5 p.m., Alan Sliwa, Lakers big win last night over the Clippers will join us at 5 p.m. He's also a huge Padres fan, by the way, so he's got some of the questions that we have, which is what are they going to do with some of these looming roster decisions? Padres will leave for Korea in 13 days.
Well, it'd be nice to hear from like a fan perspective from him, who lifelong Padres fan.
Yeah.
Like, so Jackson Merrill, the holes on his team, where are you at? Like, where are you at right now? Are you excited about it? Are you worried about it? Are you cautiously optimistic? Like, what's going on through your head?
I think, honestly, even if you're the most diehard Padres fan, and correct me if I'm wrong, 877-767-4760.
Yeah.
Even if you're the most diehard Padres fan, you got to have some real questions.
I even saw the biggest Padres, one of the biggest Padres fans I know this morning.
Okay.
And Will Holder.
You saw him.
I didn't see him.
Oh, okay.
But I saw one of his tweets and he's like, look, man, I'm the most optimistic dude you'll ever meet for the Padres. Just look at his Twitter feed. You'll know that. And even he was like this morning, like, there's some issues here.
It just feels like one of those situations, like I said in earlier in the hour, like you need the veteran outfielder to pair maybe with youth. You're waiting for some real move, but you're also pairing that in your mind with like the clock is ticking. And there's only so much time to really make a move of substance. But then again, you know that AJ Preller has done things before. It's close to, like the day before opening day, they've made moves. And you can, of course, make a move after other players are cut at the end of spring training. But like, we're not looking for that type of move. You're not looking, oh, Tim LeCastro was waived by the Cubs. Here he is. I mean, that's a bad example because he actually is here. You're looking for something of substance. Like Tommy Pham isn't a wave. Like you're looking for a player that had a nice year last year in the big leagues or a starter that had a nice season a year ago in the big leagues. You're looking for them to put like some money where their mouth is, because if you're saying you're going to contend and we're looking at the roster and it doesn't look like they're capable of doing that, then how do they plan on contending?
Exactly. And you could say the future is bright, but every team could say that about every one of their prospects. It's only bright if they perform. And they've never had any prospects in a wave come up and perform. So I'm going to hold off on the future is bright, even with Ethan Salas, even the guy that is being compared to like Pudge Rodriguez.
Right.
Okay. I'm going to hold off until I actually see it at the big league level. Like, do they have talent? Absolutely. But it's really hard for me to say after what I've seen the last decade here with AJ Preller. And I've covered every single year that AJ Preller has been here with the Padres. It's really hard for me to say the future is bright when none of the future that AJ Preller has had in the system has turned out to be really much of anything.
Yeah, like
with the Padres.
Right. And I do wonder, like, if you're having a good year in 2024, well, then you're less dependent, you would think, on your promising system. And that's more about maybe 2025 and beyond. If you're not having a great year in 2024, do you turn to your system earlier? Is that when all of a sudden you see the wave of players? It's you get to that trade deadline and all of a sudden you're seeing some of these guys in camp making major league debuts because the team isn't great in 2024, but that puts you in a better position for I don't know what the plan is. I really don't. Last year, the plan was all in. They didn't trade away Snell or Hader at the deadline, even though things were looking very good. And now they've lost all those pieces. And they're telling us the plans are the same, but they've lost all those pieces that they wouldn't trade away last year at the deadline because they were competing. Man.
It doesn't make really much sense.
Yeah,
at all.
It's like going with the wind.
Yeah, there's not like hey, we need to trade this guy because we know he's probably not going to be with us next year, so we need to get something out of it.
Right. Yeah.
Never happened.
And that's where we are right now. And it would have been nice to get something for one of those two players. I understand maybe an obligation to the fan base or Peter Seidler to try to go for it.
Exactly. Do you see what Jeff Sander tweeted out today?
I don't know if I did, but maybe.
He said some grumbling among the staffers in the what is this? Hohokam?
Yeah, whatever the name of the ballpark that Oakland plays in. Hohokam?
Hohokam? Okay. Press box about a lack of major leaguers in the Padres lineup today.
I did see that tweet. And then people were like, well, isn't that the look in the mirror, Oakland?
And then he replied, haven't heard a comment about the A's lineup. And he put out the A's lineup tonight.
Was the comments from Oakland media?
Maybe.
Does Oakland have media?
They don't have any media, honestly. Yeah. They have probably like maybe one or two.
I couldn't name anyone other than there's Brent Rooker. Who was in that lineup for Oakland today?
Zach Galoff. That's it.
Okay.
Brent Rooker and Zach Galoff. Nothing else.
Right.
Nick Allen. I've heard of him.
Are we alive back there?
Yeah, exactly, Brent. That's
Yeah.
exactly right.
But hey, it's what the Padres have, and you're going to probably see a lot of this.
Well,
this
that was
spring.
that was a road game. I mean, they didn't
Yeah,
bring.
they're
You
not
don't
gonna-
usually bring regulars.
No, and you do you want to go? Hey, Machado, you're going to play the Oakland A's today. Their minor league team. Like, what?
And it's all the way across. Isn't it? I think it's an actual one of the further distances in spring training.
Never
like
even
an
heard
hour.
of Hohokam
Exactly.
or wherever that ballpark's at.
All right. On the other side, we'll get to the wrap. Still ahead, Alan Sleewell will join us at 5 p.m. Next hour at 4 p.m. or in the 4 o'clock hour, your chance to win tickets to see Santana with Counting Crows, their Oneness Tour, North Island Credit Union Amphitheater, August 30th. Tickets and info at livenation.com. Brian Dutcher Show at 6 p.m. Dutch will join us coming up at 6 p.m. Stay with us.
All right, this update is brought to you by Taco Bell. Padres Cactus League spring training today. They played the A's. They beat the A's. Jackson Merrill went 0 for 3 in the game. And Woo-Suk Go made his spring training debut. He went 1 scoreless inning, striking out 2. WNBA today news. Caitlin Clark will be entering the WNBA today. Announced that she'll probably be the number 1 overall pick to the Indiana Fever. And tonight is the Brian Dutcher Coaches Show, 6 p.m. with John and Coach Dutch. You can listen to that game right here on San Diego Sports 760. Taco Bell's new Craving Value menu is a big deal. Or rather, it's 10 big deals, from new items like the loaded nachos to familiar favorites like the spicy potato soft taco. Check it out at a participating Taco Bell today. Available for a limited time only while supplies last.
Getting you all set for that drive home. Let's just start the show. Here's Jon and Jim.
All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? Hour 2, Jon and Jim, like Jim just said. Brian Dutcher Show at 6 p.m. right here on San Diego Sports 760. If you have questions, you can get them in, 70470. Start your message with the word team. Alan Sliwa will join us at 5, and later this hour, your chance to win tickets to see Santana and Counting Crows at the North Island Credit Union Amphitheater. There is a story from earlier today. We'll get to the wrap in a moment. That honestly is an interesting story because it surprised even his own team. Shohei Ohtani revealing on Instagram that he was married at some point recently, although no real details. The name of the woman he's married to, when the wedding occurred. Even how long he's known her. He said 3 or 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
So Shohei Ohtani and Dave Roberts responding, or the AP article reads this. Dave Roberts said any gifts the team gives the 2-time MVP would be like most of the money in his contract deferred. That's what the AP wrote today. He said, I'm very happy for him and his bride. As far as wedding gifts, we got surprised and didn't have much time to think about it. I'm sure it's en route. So Shohei Ohtani, and he said it via an interpreter. This is what he said. She's a Japanese woman. I don't really feel comfortable talking about when I got married exactly, but she's a normal Japanese woman.
Okay.
That's the direct quote per the interpreter. Is that at all surprising that the Dodgers wouldn't have been aware?
No tail on her.
I mean,
completely normal.
Yeah, it's a little interesting to me that normally you would even public figures, typically you would know who someone is married to, I would think. I can't think of many examples of not knowing who someone is married to.
Do they not have paparazzi in Japan?
I don't know. Does she live in the States with him? You don't find it at all interesting, or just normal story?
We're making it a big deal because it's Shohei Ohtani, right? Like,
I don't know anyone really that hasn't revealed their. I mean, that's a little abnormal, isn't it?
I don't know. He wouldn't tell anybody what the name of his dog was.
True.
So
maybe he's a very private person. I mean, it is what it is.
Is there any private person? Can you think of anyone in any sport that is married that hasn't revealed the name of their spouse or when they were married?
I mean, I don't really think of like players' spouses. I don't be like, oh man, who's I mean, we know Machado's wife's name.
Sure.
But like if he didn't have a wife and they're having a child soon, so congratulations to them. But like I wouldn't be like, oh, who's Manny's wife? Like I don't really.
So
I don't know.
Yeah, maybe not. I mean, maybe it's, I don't know. To your point, I mean, Ohtani's obviously like a global star.
Yeah, but also,
the Dodgers didn't know he was married.
Again, very private person.
Yeah, apparently very.
And with his type of like, I mean, especially in Japan, like his stardom in Japan. And she probably lives over there in Japan, maybe. I don't know. No one knows, right? No one knows. And it doesn't really matter. But maybe she's the type of person that's like, I don't want to be in the spotlight. I don't want anybody to know like who I am. I don't want to be famous. And that's maybe Shohei's protecting her.
Maybe.
And that could be something that's going on. And kind of, I would applaud a Shohei for doing that. If that's the case, like, hey, if Erin didn't want to be known as my fiance, I would never mention her name on the radio. Like if Kristen was like, I really don't want you to talk about me on the radio.
Right.
You probably wouldn't talk about Kristen on the radio.
True.
If Erin didn't want to be talked about on the radio, I probably wouldn't talk about Erin on the radio.
Yeah, I think this probably goes a little beyond that, but I understand what you're saying.
Way beyond that.
Yeah.
But like to that type of thinking, like maybe she's like, I really don't want to be like
Yeah, I mean,
known.
is it just because it's Ohtani? Is Ohtani always the number one story on ESPN with everything he does? Maybe he is.
Well, now he is because
You
he's with
know?
the Dodgers. Because apparently
Yeah.
he never played baseball before
I was
this
going
year.
to say with the Angels, it wasn't nearly as relevant.
No.
It didn't feel like.
It's
But
the
now it's
the Dodgers.
hey, he has a dog. We don't know its name. That's the lead story. And now he got married in the offseason because he posted on Instagram.
I like JD Gaucho in our YouTube chat says, "Poor Ben Verlander, he's heartbroken." You know about
yes,
that guy's the most cringe dude, over obsessive guy over Shohei Ohtani I've ever met.
Right.
Never met, but seen in my life.
Man, it's going to be an interesting season for Ohtani. I know that. I mean, there's so much attention. Maybe it's going to be an interesting 10 years, but specifically this season.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like you said, he was playing for the Angels a year ago, and it was kind of like ho-hum. Oh, here they go again, under 500. It really wasn't that big of a story.
Dude, if he puts up, and he can't this year because he won't be pitching.
Right.
But say next year he puts up the season he's put up the last 2 years with the Angels.
Man. Yeah.
With the Dodgers.
It's completely different.
Completely different.
Yeah, it absolutely is. All right, let's get to this.
All right, the Aztec football schedule was released today. What would be a good season for the Aztecs?
A good season would be like 8 wins, right? I think a great season would be 9 or 10. And then like a magical season's, you get to the undefeated, right? Like 11, you have only 1 loss on your record. That's like the magical, like first year, oh my God, what just happened type of season. But I think if we're like setting realistic expectations, 7 or 8 wins coming off of what they did last year, having only 4?
4, yeah. They were 4-8, and obviously there's been a lot of change, not just with the staff, but then you have the portal, but that's normal around college football. No, I agree with you. I think when you couple the schedule, which is hard because you play Oregon State, Washington State, and Cal, and you also go to Boise State. Those are 4 games right there that are tricky.
If you're an Aztec fan, you want to see the Aztecs play those
Yeah,
teams.
I think it's cool. I really do.
Yeah.
I think it's a great schedule. But I'm with you. I think if you could get to that like 8-win threshold, I mean, from a 4-win team with arguably a tougher schedule, that would be really incredible. So I was excited when I saw the schedule because it's cool to get Washington State and Oregon State at home. I think that's really good for San Diego State. So I'm excited for the season. We'll catch up with Sean Lewis, obviously, in the weeks ahead. But yeah, I mean, I think you win 8 games off a 4-win season. You've had an amazing year, truthfully.
Yeah.
Next question.
Caitlin Clark has declared for the WNBA draft. Will she be the league's best player?
Well, she's already the best college player.
Yeah. One of the best ever.
I mean, she'll instantly be one of the best players in the league for sure. Sabrina Ionesco, she's one of the top players in the NBA. Angel Reese, is she going to be declared for the WNBA draft? Is she available? Is she?
I'd say I doubt it because she's been complaining about how they don't make enough money in the NBA or WNBA, and she makes more money at LSU.
I don't even know what her eligibility is.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Yeah.
I think she would be. Now, I know that the Indiana Fever, John, have the number 1 overall pick in the WNBA draft next year. And I was thinking to myself, like, Indiana, is that the best place to go for Caitlin Clark to like become this like superstar for the WNBA?
She's in Des Moines.
True.
It's WNBA. Is it going to matter?
She's kind of transcended. I mean, it is amazing because you think about that. She's at the University of Iowa.
Yeah.
The most like boring football program.
Right.
Right. They don't score. Like, so for her to do this out of the university, she's out of Des Moines.
Yeah.
I think she'll be able to break through. I mean, she's just struck a chord with a lot of Americans. I mean, obviously her scoring ability is unbelievable, and the ratings for some of these games have been incredible. So I think she's going to be really good because she's already really good. I don't know if she's the best player. I don't know enough about the league, truthfully, but I'm sure she'll be one of the best players in the league.
You know where I think the best place would have been to go for her? I don't think it's going to happen. And I don't even really know when. I think they're starting up next year.
Okay.
It's the expansion team in San Francisco with the Warriors.
There is an expansion team. That's right.
If you had
how do they not have the first pick?
I don't know.
Team?
If you had Caitlin Clark and Steph Curry both playing in the same arena, because Steph would try to elevate her status for sure. Like he'd be going to a lot of games, I'm assuming, and there would be a lot of like collaborations because they'd be playing in the same arena,
right?
And they have the same owner, Joe Lacob. Like, I don't see what that to me was like the best spot for her to go. But is that even possible? Because
I guess not. It's a good point. Indiana's got the first pick for the second year in a row.
Why?
Well,
I guess
they suck.
Worst record, I guess.
we'll see if the fans translate to go over, because there's a lot of fans that like college sports that they won't watch professional sports if you pay them money. And this situation with WNBA is, if a tree falls in the forest and nobody watches it, did it actually fall?
I think but actually that's where Indiana makes so much sense, because it's such an amazing basketball city.
Yeah.
That I could see it working maybe even better than another. Not to say, I mean, San Francisco's obviously been amazing with the Warriors, but I feel like Indianapolis, it probably will work out.
Yeah.
And she's a Midwesterner.
True.
Next question.
Who's going to have a better season for the Padres? Usak Go or Yuki Matsui?
So Go debuted today, right? 2 strikeouts?
Yeah. 1 inning, 2 strikeouts.
Okay, that's great.
Yuki Matsui, when he debuted, 1 inning, 3 strikeouts.
Right. We haven't seen him since, though.
No, back messed up on him.
Yep.
I didn't even see Woosuck Go pitch today because
it wasn't televised.
But I don't know. I'll say I'll go with Woosuck Go. We'll have a better year. Why? Don't know.
Yeah, I mean, if all things are equal, like they're healthy,
yeah.
And I don't know if Matsui is going to be healthy. I would actually go Matsui over Go. Why? Because the level of the league of the KBO is better than the level of the league in Japan, Nippon, is better than the KBO. Matsui is coming from the Nippon Professional Baseball League, correct, much higher level than the KBO, the Korean Baseball Organization. That doesn't mean Matsui is going to be better than Go. I'm just going to give him the benefit based on that, the talent in which he's played against. But that's if both players are healthy. I hope both are productive because they're counting on them in their bullpen. Next question.
What team will go farther this year, the Clippers or the Lakers?
Ooh.
Well, the Clippers are set up. Like, if they don't at least reach the Western Conference Finals this year with the team that they have, they're never going to win. It's just never going to happen unless maybe getting out of crypto.com arenas will help them. But I'm just going to say, if all things are to be equal and there's not any major injuries on either side, because I know Paul George didn't play last night, right?
I don't know.
I don't think so, no.
But they had that massive lead late, right?
They did.
Yeah, 21-point lead.
I'll go with the Clippers just because I think they have more talent and they're deeper than the Lakers. And for a long series, it might be tough for that old Lakers team to win, have to win 4 games.
What's interesting is that the Lakers, who right now are the 9 seed and the Clippers are the 4 seed, but it's not outside the realm for the Clippers and Lakers to meet in the first round. Why do I say that? Because the Lakers have 10 of their next 11 at home. If they can somehow take advantage of it, just say 8-3. I mean, they're 32-28, so they're now, a handful of games over 500. They go 8-3 in their next 11. They're 40-31, and they're right there. I mean, right now they're only 3 games out of the number 5 spot. So if they can gain on some teams, all of a sudden you might get Clippers-Lakers first round, which I don't think would be a good thing for the Clippers. You're right about getting to the Western Conference Finals, though, because the Clippers wouldn't be going through the Nuggets until potentially the Western Conference Finals if this stood right now, seeding-wise.
And just because of the veterans they have with Kawhi and James Harden, Westbrook, Paul George, they have a coach who has been there before, Ty Lue. The Oklahoma Cities of the world, the Timberwolves of the world, like they're talented teams, and they're going to be in the postseason this year. They're going to be top of the conference. But I just think I don't see them getting past like the Denvers of the world or the Clippers of the world, and it's going to be tough if they face the Lakers of the world. And who knows with the Warriors? I don't even know, but it's going to be tough for those teams, the young teams that have never been there before, to all of a sudden make that leap to the Western Conference Finals.
Yeah, the amazing thing is, like you meant, Warriors 10th place, 8-2 in their last 10. Lakers 9th place, 7-3 in their last 10. It's like these teams are actually maybe emerging to potentially play their way out of this play-in thing. I mean, it's at least possible. You wouldn't have said it 3 weeks ago. It's now at least possible. And again, Lakers 6 straight at home and 10 of 11, I just saw on the bottom line. So if you're ever going to take advantage off a game like last night, getting 10 of your next 11 at home, it seems like it's set up for them to at least play outside get above the play-in tournament, potentially. And if they don't, that's on them. You got 20 games left and 10 of your next 11 are at home. You have a golden opportunity.
Lakers are so weird, though. They'll turn it on. They'll flip that switch for a game like they did last night, even though they were down by 20 points.
Spurs.
Yeah, and they'll lose to the Spurs, or they'll lose to whatever. And LeBron he can't go all out all the time anymore. but he picks and chooses his spots. Clearly last night was a big game for the Lakers,
Right.
and he picked his spot perfectly. Now, it took a huge comeback for it to mean something, but still, they got it done. And
Right.
LeBron was the best player on the floor. Year 21, LeBron. Best player on the floor.
I can't believe, considering how many games he's played, and now he's won a lot of games, but he had never had a comeback of that size as late as they had the comeback in his career.
That's
Pretty crazy, I would
Yeah.
say. Now, again, if you look at LeBron's regular season record throughout his time in Miami and Cleveland and even LA with ups, his regular season record's awesome. I'm sure they've won a lot of games. Like, it's not like he's in the most of his career, he's not trailing by 20 points in the fourth quarter. They've won a lot of games,
right.
But he's also had teams that haven't been as good. But that I do wonder what that does for both of the teams. The Clippers had played brilliantly since all these acquisitions.
Yeah.
Lakers left for dead and they lose the game. Does that turn anything around over the last month or two of the season?
Maybe for the Lakers. I don't think the Clippers view it as like a crushing type
Probably
of
not.
defeat.
Yeah.
Because they were without Paul George.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just look at the Lakers as they're the consistency with them this year isn't there, but they still have it in them.
Right.
Because it's LeBron.
Mm-hmm.
And it's crazy. I think he's 40 points away from 40,000 total points in his career. 40,000.
It's crazy. I mean, it's his whole career is really to play like this this late is just unbelievable. To be able to avoid real health detriments, right? I mean, he's basically been on the floor for most of his career. He hasn't had that like missed 60 games.
No, never.
The Achilles or whatever.
No.
That's amazing.
He's been like the Terminator.
It's amazing, especially with the playoff games he's played.
He'll roll his ankle and it'll be fine.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Well, just regular season games, he's played like almost 1,500 regular season games.
It's crazy. And then add in the playoff games.
How many?
So he needs 40 for the
40 for 40K.
Yep.
Jeez.
That's amazing. Yeah, it's
and it wouldn't surprise me at all if he went out there and scored 40 in one game,
Right.
But I look at like LeBron is what, 1,500 games you said, Brent?
Yeah, just under it.
Okay.
And that's just regular season. Playoff, it's
right.
way more than that.
So he'll play over 1,500 games in his career.
Definitely.
Maybe even 1,600.
They play the Wizards, as John likes to call them, the Bullets. So
that's who they play.
That's who they play tomorrow.
Next?
So he could put up 40 on the Bullets.
Definitely.
They suck. They've only won 9 games this year.
So in Jordan's career, he scored 32,000 points, but he only played in 1,072 games. So if Jordan played in the same amount of games as LeBron, is he scoring more points than LeBron?
Well, how many points per game?
30.
And what's LeBron?
26 or 7.
So the answer is yes.
Well, also age is a factor, and then when he went to the
right, he was hurt.
He was hurt.
Yeah,
but he also missed his
2 prime years.
Well, not only 2 prime years. I would say 35 to 37. I mean, you could argue that he missed those are some prime years because when he left the NBA in '98, he was scoring 29 points a game.
So he missed 2 in the middle of the 6-year run.
Correct.
And he missed 2 more. You're saying in his mid 30s.
3, 35 to 37.
Yeah, that's what this is why all this is so hard.
LeBron went in 35 to 37. He was still, he was
dominant.
Dominant. I mean, he still can be dominant, but
different eras, different. I mean, Jordan was playing, you tell me. I mean, he had seasons late in his career. I'm sure he was playing 75 plus games.
Dude,
these guys didn't take games off.
Listen to this. So the only time Michael Jordan missed a significant amount of time was in 85, 86 when he had his ankle injury.
Right. Okay.
He only played 18 games that year. From 87 to 93 before his first retirement.
Right.
The least amount of games he played in a season was 78.
Yeah. I mean, it was different.
And then when he came back, obviously the 95 season, he only played the 17 games when he returned, right? But from 96 to 98 or 95 to 98, 82 games every year.
It's amazing. And it's changed a lot. And the commissioner, I mean, it's been an issue. It's an issue for the NBA.
Well, that's why Barkley and all those guys, harp on all the players today about being soft because, back when they played every single game opposed to, sitting out all the time.
Right. It's a different watch for fans because now you don't know what you're going to get on any given game.
Right.
Because like I'd have to look Steph Curry, LeBron James, all these stars, they don't. Nobody plays 80 games.
No.
Now they play more games than others, maybe, but nobody's playing 80 games. So you might turn on Lakers Celtics one night. We did this year, and guess what? LeBron and AD didn't play, and I think the Lakers won the game.
I would not put LeBron anywhere near the load management poster.
Right.
He is not, to me, a guy that uses load management like some of these other players do.
Well, technically, he's exempt from it because he got grandfathered in because he had X amount of games.
Right.
So they can do that with him
Right.
and get away with it.
But he's also, look at his career and how many games he has played as far as seasons go. Like he was the guy that played 82 games every year. I mean, he played all the time. So if LeBron misses a night here and there, I don't think it's like oh my God,
No,
LeBron again. But if we're talking about like Kawhi or like, whoever else, right? Luke, I don't know, give it a random name, right? Like then we're talking about it, not with LeBron.
No, and the truth is, if LeBron played from 1984 to 2004, he would have played 80 games every single year because every other player was doing that in that era. Your boy George, say the last name.
My boy George Paul.
Wow, how quickly we forget.
George Club?
Is out.
Good.
But the Pac-12 has a new commissioner.
What?
For the two teams that are currently in it, Washington State and Oregon State. She spoke
bother?
to the media for the first time today. What did she say about the future of the Pac-12? We have it for you on the other side. Plus, later this hour, your chance to win a pair of tickets to see Santana and Counting Crows in the Oneness Tour, North Island Credit Union Amphitheater. This is August 30th. Tickets and info at livenation.com. Speaking of the Lakers and the Padres, Alan Sliwa will join us at 5 p.m. Stay with us on Jon and Jim. All right, the Pac-12 down to Oregon State and Washington State has a new commissioner. What does the future of the league look like? That's next.
All right, this update is brought to you by Taco Bell. Cactus League spring training today. Padres took on the A's. They won. Jackson Merrill went 0 for 3 in the game. Woosuck Go made his spring training debut for the Padres, going 1 inning. Scoreless ball, having 2 strikeouts there. Caitlin Clark is declaring for the WNBA. Indiana Fever had the number 1 overall pick in the WNBA draft this year. That's expected where she will go. And tonight is the Brian Dutcher Coaches Show. 6 p.m. is when the Coaches Show starts with Jon right here on San Diego Sports 60. Taco Bell's new craving value menu is a big deal, or rather, it's 10 big deals, from new items like the loaded nachos to familiar favorites like the spicy potato soft taco. Check it out at a participating Taco Bell today, available for a limited time only while supplies last.
Is officially out because the Pac-12 today announced a new commissioner, Teresa Gould, who had previously been at the Pac-12 conference, I believe. I have that right. The Pac-12, as we know, is Oregon State and Washington State.
Right.
So we don't know what the future is. I mean, could it be rebuilt in some capacity? We don't know. She was asked about it today. There was a press conference. Nobody's willing to go that far into the future because, as we've seen play out the last couple of years, Jim, like everything can change in the summer. Texas, Oklahoma, gone. SC, UCLA, gone. The next year, Pac-12,
gone.
Kind of, right? Yeah, the way it was broken up this past summer.
So when Washington and Oregon State, start their season.
What?
When Washington State and Oregon State start their season, are they, when they like play, they're going to have like the Pac-12 logo on their jerseys?
I believe so, and on their fields.
Okay.
Yeah, like I think they're going to protect that brand, but there's no conference championship. There are no at-large, or there's no automatic qualification for anything in any sport. As in, here's what's happened. Those 2 schools are playing Mountain West schools in football next year. That's how San Diego State has both Oregon State and Washington State on schedule. And then, like all the other sports, or most of them, they're going to be playing in the WCC against schools like Gonzaga and St. Mary's. Now, they can't do that forever. They're going to be in a league. They have this 2-year grace period to do one of 2 things, either rebuild the Pac-12 or essentially get into another league. I think their hopes are, well, maybe there's more realignment. And if that happens, when the music stops, maybe we're in the Big 12 or the ACC or whatever.
What would you deem as like best case scenario for not only the survival of this Pac-12 brand,
right,
but also the future of San Diego State in a Power 5 league?
The most interesting thing, it's a good question, because the most interesting thing that was said today, in my opinion, was the president of Washington State said, I believe there needs to be a powerful West Coast conference.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to be able to have a strong league in the West that doesn't have geographic disadvantages of us traveling to like Winston-Salem, North Carolina. There should be a league that exists in the West with strong brands and, student athletes and teams, et cetera.
Right.
So can that be put together? And what's the timeline on doing something like that? Like, could you get Cal and Stanford back from the ACC to pair with Washington State and Oregon State in the future? Could you team up with San Diego? I don't know. I have no idea. Obviously, they could have done it before they left for the ACC, but there were a lot of unknowns.
If you're Stanford, I don't know if you've truly like grasped just how difficult these upcoming seasons are for your athletic program. And by difficult, I mean the travel.
Mm-hmm.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're a volleyball player at Stanford and you have to go on a Tuesday night cross country to Carolina,
right?
Like what?
Yeah, it's a lot.
Like, I have a term paper due tomorrow morning, and I'm flying for 7 hours back and forth, 14 total hours of flight time.
I mean, what is realistic? Like, are we approaching? And I don't know the answer to this. I don't know if anyone has a definitive answer. Are we approaching a time in the not so distant future where football breaks off, but all other sports are played regionally? As in, Oregon can play Penn State in football, and they can get the Big Ten television dollars.
Yeah.
But when we get to men's basketball and other sports, volleyball, baseball, whatever, Oregon's playing San Diego State.
I hope so.
It just seems to make more sense.
Because football, and we've heard a lot of coaches in basketball, kind of even Dutch, like the outcry of, why is football determining every other sport
decision
in our athletic program?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's ridiculous. The soccer teams aren't asking for this. The volleyball teams aren't asking for this. Softball teams, the baseball teams, the basketball teams, they're not asking for this. It's just football. That's it.
Right.
And they're essentially, I mean, they're screwing everybody else because of the money that they are trying to obtain by creating these power leagues.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing how we got to this point. I mean, it really is.
Yeah.
I've said it a million times. 10 years ago, if you would have asked me what's the most powerful conference in college athletics from like brand identity, I would have been like, Pac-12, Big Ten. Their legacies are unbelievable. They're like 100-year legacy. I mean, of course, the SEC. But like the Pac-12 brand at a point in my lifetime was as strong of a brand as any league in college athletics. And for it to, whatever you want to say about it, it hasn't fully evaporated. But you get the point. Like, I didn't even, I'll be honest, I didn't even envision that as like a possibility. And I don't know how many people really did until it happened.
Just a way of the
television and money
rights and money. And I don't think it has anything to do with NIL.
No, I don't think so either. But I do think that college athletics have changed so significantly in such a short period of time that I think it proves this point. You don't know what's next. Is there more realignment? Does NIL change college athletics even further? Are student athletes going to be paid moving forward? That's a big topic of conversation. Yeah. Obviously, will they become employees moving forward? So, like, everything's on the table, is what I would say.
I'm curious to know, like, the feelings of these conferences and these schools once they actually start getting into their whatever sports league year.
Right.
You know, are the ADs going to be like, who cares? Whatever. The travel, the timing of things, the conference, like, it's fine. We're making money, so who cares? Or they can actually like care and be like, yo.
Here, I'll give you a hypothetical real quick. Because, of course, the first one of the dominoes a long time ago now, even though they haven't played a game yet in the Big Ten, is UCLA and USC. I mean, it feels like a lifetime ago. I don't know when it happened. You asked 2 years ago? And
it was the day that Kevin Durant, he requested a trade.
Oh,
and
yeah,
you called
like,
me.
we need to talk about that.
You're like,
no, we don't.
Nobody cares.
I'm like, it's all about this realignment. But My point was, what if UCLA, and I don't know if this is to be true or not, but what if UCLA in its first 5 football seasons in the Big Ten doesn't finish in the top half? It's 18 teams.
So
It's not like they've been dominant in the Pac-12 in football, but like 10th place, 10th to 15th for 5 years.
Yeah.
And then let's say it impacts their basketball brand as well because they're playing in like Maryland and Jersey, and they take a little bit of a step back. Now you've earned more money, but your football has lessened in terms of wins and losses. Maybe it's impacted your men's and women's basketball programs as well. Is it still a win? You've made more money. You're earning more. And I'm sure that has value for the university and the athletics department, but are you winning at a better clip? And isn't that what really the fans want to see?
Yeah.
You know? It's a weird conversation.
Well, that money that they're making better be worth it. It better be worth it.
Right.
And if it is, then they can justify it. If they're saying we were making X here, but we're now making X here, and the difference is significant,
Mm-hmm.
then they can justify it. But if they're not making a significant amount of more money, then
Right.
yeah,
Because of all the costs and everything associated with it.
right.
But like I also say, like fans don't care. I mean, we're getting so far in the weeds. Would you prefer San Diego State to be in a power league? And most people would, but you also want to see them win. You don't want to just see San Diego State. Well, San Diego State's making more money, but they're not winning. You want to see them have success. And that's something they've enjoyed in the Mountain West. Like you don't want to see them just switch leagues to make more money. You want to see them switch leagues and have success in that new league. So that's where, and I think San Diego State was really set up to do that, by the way. But are all these programs set up to do that is my question.
And what San Diego State has accomplished while in the Mountain West Conference over the last decade has been remarkable.
Really good. Yeah, absolutely.
And it's not just their success in the league. It is now turning into the overall success of the league. We'll see what this conference does in March this year in the tournament. It could be a historic year for the Mountain West. It was a historic year last year because you had San Diego State go to the national championship game. What if you have 2 schools in the Mountain West make the Sweet 16 this year? You know,
right.
I'm not saying that they had an opportunity, like, oh, they could have left, but they stayed. Like, no, I think if they could have left, and they would have left from a football standpoint, and then they would have been the Pac-12 and blah, 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 right? But being in the Mountain West Conference over the last decade and what Dutch has done there, it's elevated the entire conference.
No doubt. And now without a Pac-12, and Dutch has said this publicly, I've seen him say it maybe on TV. I think he's maybe said it on radio, that the Mountain West is the best league in the West. And he's right. He's spot on.
No question about that.
And now there won't even be a Pac-12. So the Mountain West has become the best league in the West.
Yeah. There's really nobody that is in the Pac-12 other than Arizona that you're like.
UCLA.
Well, I meant like this year. As UCLA,
right, you're right. No, UCLA's been bad.
No, yeah. Arizona's the only team in the Pac-12 last year, or this year?
Washington State's had a good year, believe it or not. But yeah, Arizona's the dominant player. But yeah, you're right. The Mountain West is going to get more teams into the NCAA tournament than the Pac-12 this year.
And WCC, you have
more teams
in there.
All right, call right now if you want a chance to win a pair of tickets to see Santana and Counting Crows in their Oneness Tour. This is at the North Island Credit Union Amphitheater, August 30th. The number to call, you're going to play trivia. First 2 callers will be our contestants. We call it Trainwreck Radio. You need to call right now, 877-767-4760. Great giveaway. 2 free tickets to see Santana and Counting Crows Oneness Tour, North Island Credit Union Amphitheater, August 30th. Tickets and info at livenation.com. Call 877-767-4760. Call now. That's next. All right, hey guys, it's Schaefer. I've been telling you throughout the course of last year and this year about my friends over at Windmill Farms because it's such a good spot for all your grocery or lunch and dinner needs. It is a great, quick, easy, affordable lunch spot with their deli. You grab a sandwich card, your 8th sandwich is free. They have such a huge selection of offerings. They use fresh, high-quality ingredients, and they really pride themselves on keeping their prices low. It's a great spot on your way home to pick up dinner. And then all your grocery needs, they have you covered. Anything you need, they have, whether it's the organic farm fresh produce and meats or their craft beer selection, which is incredible. You need to see it. They have everything, and they're family owned. Trevor and his family have been serving San Diegans for 20 plus years. They're centrally located right off Del Cerro Boulevard, right by Montezuma Mesa. And even if you don't live or work in the college area, you can find Windmill Farms on Instacart. You can have your groceries delivered directly to your doorstep as well. They serve San Diegans, they are San Diegans, and they support local businesses like Harris Ranch, Mr. G Salsa, and more. And they have weekly specials on both Instagram and also at windmillfarmsmarket.com. That is windmillfarmsmarket.com. And a reminder, whatever you need, lunch, dinner, your grocery needs, shop local, shop at Windmill Farms. tickets. We had to reset our phones, so the lines are open. If you want 2 free tickets to see Santana and Counting Crows, their Oneness tour, you need to call right now. The number to call is 877-767-4760. These are free tickets. It's a great giveaway. Santana, Counting Crows, North Island Credit Union Amphitheater, August 30th. So call right now if you want those tickets. First 2 callers will be our contestants for trivia. So call right now. Here's the number, 877-767-4760. And again, free tickets. Santana, awesome. Counting Crows, I love. 877-767-4760. Call right now. You have a chance to win those tickets for August 30th. Great giveaway. We'll have Trainwreck Radio coming up in a moment. Alan Slee, Lakers Talk, will join us at 5 p.m. He's also a diehard Padres.
Yes, he is. He says he listens to our show daily because we have this booming stick that goes up to
That's right, LA.
all the way to LA. So
We've seen him at Petco a number of times.
He's always trying to keep up on all the Padres news. So I'm curious to hear what you have to say about his spring training and the quote unquote youth movement.
Yeah, I want to ask about the Aztecs.
Yeah,
big men's basketball fan.
right.
Just big Aztec supporter in general. So yeah, we'll catch up with Alan Slee. Coming up in about 10 minutes or so. We have Jim's backstage. Brian Dutcher will join us at 6 p.m. And 70470, start your message with the word team. If you have a question for the head coach of the Aztecs, we'll join us again coming up at 6 p.m. So with those questions in 70470, start your message with the word team. All right, Brent is on the lines right now. Securing our contestants. We both have done that previously.
Yes.
Sometimes it's a tricky proposition. And what's a harder job, running the board or doing the sports talk show? Or doing
This
is harder.
I think so because you're constantly talking. Like you have to constantly.
It's so
talk.
funny. I think the opposite. Because I'm like that to me is like a square in a circle. Like I wasn't made for it. You know me. I don't know how to use a computer.
Yeah, but once you get used to it, I don't. It's bad. Really bad.
We were saying what's harder, Brent, doing your job or doing our job? And I said doing your job. He says doing our job.
It depends on what day it is. We have like a big sports news day where there's just something huge happens where it's just one of those days where like something so big that happens it consumes like all 3 hours of the show. Those are pretty easy days to do, but consistently I'd rather be over here than over there.
Yeah, that's hilarious. All right, let's get to this.
All right, 3 questions, 2 contestants. 3 questions, 2 contestants, 1 lifeline. Today's 2 contestants, we have D and Edgar. D, you called in first. You have your choice of John or Jim. Who do you want to go with for a partner today?
Oh, John.
Oh, John.
All right, so D and John, I like that.
Edgar, you get me, okay?
All right, we're good with that, baby, Mr. Irrelevant.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Relevant is Edgar or Jim?
It's me,
Okay.
probably.
Definitely not me.
Definitely me. Definitely me. All right, Brent, what is today's question of the day?
All right, guys, we talked a little bit earlier about the Lakers coming back from 21 down last night in the 4th quarter. Do you know that in NFL history, there are 7 quarterbacks with at least 34 4th quarter comebacks? Today's question, name any of those 7 NFL QBs with at least 34 4th quarter comebacks or more.
Wow.
34.
Jeez, that's a lot. It is. All right. Okay, so Edgar with Mr. Irrelevant me. What's your first question for Jim? No, not question, but guess of the day. You'll send your lifeline if you choose to use it.
Got you. Let's go, Brett.
Brett Favre. Yes, it is. Very good guess.
34
plus?
No.
It's 28.
Wow. All right. D, you're up next. What's your first guess?
All right, Roger Staubach.
Roger Staubach.
No.
Back to you, Edgar. What's your second guess?
Let's go with the dope. Brady.
Brady.
I thought I was going to go Patrick Mahomes.
Who's your goat?
Brady's on.
And D, you're up next. What is your next guess? You have a lifeline if you choose to use it.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Jonas.
Jonas.
No.
Edgar,
You're going way back, D.
Yeah, you can walk it off here with the correct answer. What do you got? You do have a
That's all.
lifeline.
Lifeline.
Lifeline. We go Aaron Rodgers. We take that.
Let's go.
Oh! It's the list of the top 7 quarterbacks.
He's
Killing me.
notoriously unclutched in the fourth quarter.
Right,
Listen.
D, you
Just
need
side
this.
up, right?
Okay, Joe Montana.
Joe Montana, 34 more. I don't think so. And it's over.
Yes,
Edgar wins despite Jim's failed lifeline.
One correct answer, and he won.
I'm saying Peyton Manning.
You would have been correct.
Yeah. Played forever. I'm saying John Elway.
He only had
I
31.
want to say Ben Roethlisberger.
That would be correct. So we have the top 3. Brady,
I'm saying
Manning, and
Drew
Big Ben.
Brees.
He's number 5.
Philip.
No, he's on the bottom. He's 11.
That's why he's not in the Hall of Fame.
Loser. Steve Hartman.
All right, so Brady was number 1. He had 46. Peyton had 43. Big Ben had 41. And Matty Ice is number 4.
Whoa.
Breeze, Breeze is 5. Stafford is 6. The only old school person on the list for D, Johnny Unitas was number 7. He had 34.
All right, well, congratulations to Edgar. He's won 2 free tickets to see Santana and Counting Crows in their One This Tour, North Island Credit Union Amphitheater, August 30th. Tickets at info@livenation.com. Alan Sliwa, Padres fan, Aztecs fan, host of Lakers Talk. Lakers, they come from behind win yesterday against the Clippers. Staples will join us next on Jon and Jim.
Guys, it's brought to you by Taco Bell. Cactus League play today. Padres beat the Oakland A's. Jackson Merrill went 0 for 3 in the game. Wusa Go made his spring training debut, going an inning, striking out 2. Scoreless inning for him there. Caitlin Clark, she is declared for the WNBA draft. The Indiana Fever have the number 1 overall pick this year. And tonight at 6 p.m. in an hour from now, the Brian Dutcher Coaches Show with John and Coach Dutch right here on San Diego Sports 760. Taco Bell's new Cravings value menu is a big deal, or rather 10 big deals, from new items like the loaded nachos to familiar favorites like the spicy potato soft taco. Check it out at a participating Taco Bell today. Available for a limited time only while supplies last.
All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? Final hour of Jon and Jim. Brian Dutcher, though. The Brian Dutcher Show is coming up at 6 p.m. If you have questions for the head coach of the Aztecs, there are 2 regular season games remaining. If you have questions for Brian Dutcher, he'll join us at 6 p.m. Get him in right now, 70470. Start it with team. We have Alan Sliwa with us, who does such a good job, obviously, covering the Lakers talk, and a whole lot more up in Los Angeles, back with us on Jon and Jim. I don't want to start with the Lakers, even though we could because of what happened last night. But I just mentioned there's so much to go. There's so many places to go with Alan because he's a San Diegan. He's a San Diego State grad. He's a Padres fan. I want to start actually with the Aztecs. I mean, you spent so much time in the Lakers, but 2 games left in the regular season. Last year, obviously, was memorable this time of year. The expectations were crazy high. It's amazing that they've gotten back to this spot with such a successful year to this point. What have been your thoughts on the way San Diego State has played this year? And thanks, Alan, for hopping on.
No, of course. Appreciate you guys having me on. I'm with you. You know, you got to, and listen, San Diego State basketball has created this. Yeah, they're supposed to be top 25, and that's, you know, that's all you can ask for from a basketball program. And it's almost like, yeah, this is exactly where they're supposed to be. Obviously, fighting for the Mountain West Conference. I got a chance to come down to San Diego. I watched them that 12:30 tip-off against Utah State. I want to say a couple of weeks ago or so. I like the position that they're in. It's kind of the definition of Aztec basketball. It's going to be ugly. They're going to play defense. Not always going to be the prettiest style of basketball, but that's okay. That's exactly who they are. I like their positioning, and you know, I'm sure they got to have, for all of them, Dutcher, for some of these players, Ledee, obviously some guys that came back from last year's getting all the way to the NCAA championship. But I think there's got to be a little bit of a comfort level. I think there's a kind of been there, done that. And they have established themselves as a program that, you know, they're going to be top 20, top 25, and let's see what they do in March.
For you, you know, as much NBA as you watch and you cover, what do you think of Jaden Ledee's prospects as an NBA player?
It's a good question. Yeah, I get, see how I could properly describe, because I'm trying to think if there's a comp of someone like him in the NBA. His game has got better, and you have in today's NBA, you got to be able to step out and be somewhat of a threat. I'm not telling you every player that's in the league is guaranteed to hit a 22-footer or anything like that, but Ledee, even this year, I mean, just kind of watching him play, he's a threat from 15, 17, 18 feet away. That he's not just an athlete, or, you know what, he's robotic with his moves. Now, I don't know how that's going to translate to the NBA. I'm not sure if, you know, he's going to be a player of what type of prospect that he can be, but he's got the ability, at least on offense, to be a real threat. And like I said, in today's league, I'm not saying you got to be, you know, nobody's telling him to be Chet Holmgren or Wembanyama and be able to hit threes on a consistent basis, but I think his level of play can translate, and is, you know, he's not going to be somebody walking into the NBA where he doesn't have experience, or he doesn't have, I guess you could say, that thought process of it's too big for him or something along those lines. So I'm excited what he can be, but how that's going to translate to the league, that's little tough to describe if there's a specific comp or player that's out there.
Yeah, I think Jim mentioned actually the other day on the radio, he doesn't take a ton of threes. He didn't make 1 3 last year. He's shooting 41%. Isn't that what you said? 41 or 42?
14 for like 34.
14 for 34. I mean, so he's had a level of success, and he's certainly, to your point, Alan, I mean, I think from 15 to 17 feet, the guy is unbelievable for his size.
Yep.
He's been money this year for the Aztecs. All right, before we get to Lakers, I want to ask about your Padres.
And just to give you a quick idea, too, I'll use Anthony Davis as an example. I watch, obviously, every game.
Mm-hmm.
I think all season long, he's only hit maybe 19 threes.
Wow.
So it's not like there's certain guys that it makes sense for them to take it, but you got to play to your strengths. I think the league has got too caught up sometimes of you got to take threes, you got to take threes. If that's not part of your game, then and there's other aspects that are more strengths, and just focus on the strength.
All right, let's talk about the Padres before we get to the Lakers, because everyone's talking about, Jackson Merrill, can he make the team in the outfield? But the truth is, no matter what happens with Jackson Merrill, I mean, there are holes here, whether it's left or center, or whether it's DH, whether it's the back of the rotation. As a Padres fan, do you feel like the team is kind of like incomplete at this point, or do you think that there's a path where they have enough to put together a team that can make the postseason?
It's funny. I know we're just kind of getting underway in spring training, but we're also not far away from the actual regular season starting.
About 2 weeks.
About 2 weeks. Yep. I think no question about it. It's incomplete. No question about it. There are some question marks that you're trying to fit. And it's funny. I was talking to somebody this morning, and it's the guy that Travis Rogers I do the show with in the morning here. And off the air, we're having a conversation about the Padres. And I was telling him, I'm like, man, all I want to see them do is just compete for a playoff spot. And we've seen this in baseball. Anything can happen. You see it in the NL West, where the Arizona Diamondbacks do what they did. Obviously, the Padres a couple of years ago, that even if you have teams like the Dodgers, once you get into the playoffs, everyone is vulnerable in a 5-game or a 7-game set. I think in a weird way, I'm still very excited about the Padres this year. I don't know how much being under the radar can work to their advantage, but clearly last year, when the money was on the line and everyone was talking about the Padres, they had trouble in close games. They had trouble in extra innings. I do feel like they were feeling the pressure. Maybe that kind of works to their advantage. I don't think a lot of people are looking at the Padres, and I know they obviously trade Juan Soto. The payroll has certainly gone down, but it's not like they don't have talent. It's not like they don't have players that can help them win today. And if they can get some help from some of these youngsters, that'd be great as well. But I think every Padre fan, I'm assuming, and you guys, obviously are closer to the team and cover it more and have a better pulse of the day-to-day in San Diego with Padre fans, but I'm assuming just be in the mix here. That's all you can ask for. And I do believe that's realistic. Maybe I'm just talking through a Padres lens, but I do feel like being in the mix doesn't sound crazy.
No, it's not crazy, because I think a lot of Padres fans point to the Arizona Diamondbacks of last year. Like, no one expected the Diamondbacks of last year to start the season to make the run that they did. They had their young talent actually hit in a big way. And then they made some trades, and then they had some luck, and they won 84 games and got to the World Series. So I think a lot of Padres fans are probably pointing to that more than anything, of hoping that they can be like that, than the unrealistic of like, well, maybe they can win like 93 games, so there's a lot of that there. Alan, moving over to the Lakers, last night's game was how would you describe last night's game for the Lakers, honestly? Like, was it one of those like potential not turning points, but like you can jump off point here for the Lakers? The next 10 games you have what is it?
Is it 10 of 11 at home, Alan?
10 of 11 at home?
Yeah, it's going to be a stretch. I think the only road game they have is Sacramento coming up, but they're basically in the state of California almost March 25th, something like that.
Wow.
So they're not going anywhere. To describe last night's game, to be honest with you, this is probably this is an interesting description. Confusing, like they just confused the hell out of me. I'm watching the game, and through 3 quarters, a team that is in complete desperation mode, because you don't want to be a number 10 seed in the Western Conference. You're going to have to go on the road for 2 games. They have a very realistic chance of not even making the playoffs. So the fact that through 3 quarters, to start the 3rd quarter, they're down 19, and then Clippers hit a bucket. They're down 21. Clippers don't even have Paul George and Zubats. And to just go on a run like that, it's a head scratcher. And I think this team is so confusing. And Braun was obviously special, but can you really rely on Braun to hit 7 threes in a game? Can you really rely on a 39-16 run? I mean, the Clippers collapsing the way they did, but that's why people look at the Lakers and there's always this, but they got LeBron and AD, and there's always this kind of, nobody would want to play him in a 7-game set. And I know where it's coming from. It's fair. I mean, last year, if I'd have told you right around this point of the season that the Lakers are going to get to the Western Conference Finals, you'd be like, you're crazy. What are you talking about? But when you have those two players, and obviously there's other talented players on the team, but they're so all over the place. They're so up and down, and they could have. I don't even look at them on a per game basis. Literally per half, per quarter, they're just all over the place.
Yeah.
And usually, typically, if you play like that, I don't think that's ultimately going to land you some success when the dust settles.
So, okay, Alan Slee was with us. And of course, you can hear the Lakers right here tonight, by the way. Pre-game coverage at 7:15. Lakers hosting the Wizards to begin the stretch of 10 of 11 at Staples. I mean, is it feasible with this stretch? I mean, again, it's easier said than done. It's not like, home court automatically results in winning. And it's a lot bigger. Still only 2-3 games out of being that like 5th or 6th seed in the Western Conference. It's kind of an hour never with the next month at home, essentially.
Yeah, this is it. And John, they are 20-9 at home.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
it's not like they play poorly at home. And the teams they got coming in, you got let's put Washington aside for a quick sec. That's coming up tonight. And I might be off in the order, but it's Denver, who's number 3 in the West and the defending champs. OKC, Minnesota, obviously the two teams 1 and 2 in the West. Sacramento's in the mix there. Sacramento actually twice within a span of a week. They also have the Golden State Warriors, who obviously they're kind of fighting with position. So all the teams that they got coming up are all really quality teams. Milwaukee, I think, is in that
Milwaukee's
mix
in
as
there.
well. So there's a ton of good teams, and they don't really have the luxury of going 500 over this stretch. But with that type of competition, I do think the Lakers do find ways to kind of up their ante, up their game when they are playing better competition. But I also wouldn't be surprised if they go 500 or hover around 500 over this stretch, because they got a lot of good talent that's coming up against them as well.
We know that if LeBron's teams don't succeed, it usually falls on the head of the coaches. And Darvin Ham last year made the Western Conference Finals. That was a up and down season, and wasn't the best regular season, but the postseason was really good for them. This year, when they don't succeed, how much of that goes on Darvin Ham or not on Darvin Ham?
I think a lot of it actually there's going to be a lot that falls on him. The roster that they have, I mean, we can make excuses of this, and I don't think too many people want to hear it, but the reality is there have been some key role players that have been out of the lineup, and they never really had some consistency, but a lot of teams deal with that in the NBA. Darvin's had moments where, you kind of question, why is the team struggling? Why is the team not getting off to a good start? Why is the team, it seems like a lack of urgency. A lot of that usually falls on the head coach, whether it's fair or not, but in any sport, you do point the finger there. It's going to be interesting. If let's just use as an example. Let's say they can't get out of the play-in tournament. I mean, I wouldn't feel. I think Darvin's his job is definitely on the line. Just depends who's available. But if they don't make the playoffs, that's a problem, especially when you were expected to be at least top 3, top 4 in the Western Conference. Now, if they're able to make a run and they win a round or two, then maybe that noise kind of quiets down. But I do think there's a lot of fingers, and there will be a lot of fingers pointed at the head coach if they don't at least make some type of noise in the playoffs.
Alan, one more from me before you go. And we just saw the Clippers blow this large lead last night. LeBron outscored the Clippers in that fourth quarter, but the Clippers have obviously had a very good year.
Yeah.
Are you a believer in what they've done, the talent they've amassed, and the way they've played? Can they get something done in the postseason or not?
Here's mine. I've said this a few times here. My hesitation with the Clippers is there's too much. They got a lot of talent. Nobody's going to question the talent, but there's too much. Okay, James Harden, your turn. Okay, now Kawhi, your turn. Okay, now PG, your turn. Rather than, you guys have seen it. I mean, the teams that are most successful are the teams where I don't know where, where the shots are coming from, where there's constant movement, or they're using certain guys as decoys. I will say this: Ty Lue is a good coach. Kawhi Leonard, obviously a 2-time Finals MVP. So they have the mix that they need. That's my hesitation with them. And maybe I'm just watching the wrong games, but they're 3-5 in their last 8 games. And my hesitation is when you're in a 7-game set against the Denver Nuggets, are you is that ball being shared enough? Is it all over the place, or are they too predictable? And that'd be my one hesitation on them.
Good insight. Great observations. Again, you can listen to Alan tonight. Lakers and Wizards, our coverage beginning at 7:15 right here on San Diego Sports 760. Alan, we always appreciate it. We'll catch up again, hopefully in March, talking some Aztecs, Padres, Lakers again. So thank you.
Sounds good, fellas. Thank you, guys.
Great stuff, Alan Sliwa, San Diegan. See him at Petco. See him at Viejas. See him at Staples.
See him everywhere.
You see him basically everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see him all over my TikTok too.
Do you?
Yeah.
Because he's doing a lot of stuff on like YouTube. Is that with the show, Travis and Slee, or is it some of his
That's
YouTube work?
just his own personal stuff.
I mean, he's, you know what? Like, he works a lot.
Grinds.
Because when you're doing NBA and you got a 100-game season with pre and post kind of like, there's like 100 games essentially. That's a lot with a daily sports talk show, which is what he does.
I mean, that's what we do for the Padres. Once the season gets going,
we do
daily sports talk show, post game show at night.
And the Aztecs, boom,
and then you do Aztec stuff. It's like it's a lot.
True.
And then football season.
So you're saying we're like Allen?
We're kind of like Allen.
Yeah. Okay.
Just work a lot.
I like
grind.
I like that.
That's the way to go.
Okay, we spent obviously the first 30 minutes or so of the show talking about the Padres. Today they win. Jackson Merrill, who's the talk of camp, obviously, goes 0 for 3. It was his 5th start in 8 games. It's hard to read into 11 at bats. I mean, 11. He's had some walks in there. He's 2 for 11. He had both hits in one game against the Chicago Cubs and a major leaguer in that. So much attention. I almost feel for him. He's like such under this microscope where every spring training game is being analyzed as if it means something. And I don't even know what to make of it, Jim. That's my takeaway. A week or so into spring training, I don't even know what to make of what he has done to this point, which is some good things, but it's 5 games. I don't read into 5 games the regular season. How can I read into 5 half games in the Cactus League?
I kind of feel like maybe the pressure will go off of him once the actual season starts, because then everyone will be more focused on Tatis and Machado, and as they'll be more focused on the big dogs, opposed to right now nobody's going to put too much focus on Manny and those guys because they're not really going to do much. So Jackson Merrill is a guy we have to focus on right now because he's who we have. So I think once the regular season starts, he won't be an afterthought, but he'll be able to slip more into the background because we're going to focus more on Tatis and the bigger guys.
See, I don't know if that's going to be the case. I really don't, because you're going to be seeing a lot of Jackson Merrill. And if Jackson Merrill struggles, I think that to me will be one of the biggest talking points. Like if Manny Machado struggles, Manny Machado has a track record. We'll be talking about Manny Machado saying, hey, look, Manny, you need to step this thing up again. Like, what are we doing here? Tatis struggles. He has a track record. But we'll also be talking about their struggles. If Jackson Merrill struggles, he doesn't have a track record to go back on. There's nothing there. Now, we said it all last year about track records. Like, oh, these guys have the back of the baseball card. Back of the baseball card. And look what happened. It just did nothing. It didn't turn out to be good.
But yeah, to your point, Merrill doesn't even have a baseball card.
Doesn't have a baseball card.
I mean, Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting point. I can see it both ways. I mean, I do agree. Once you get to the regular season, what masks it all is getting off to a start that is good.
Yeah.
Like you can live with everything. If all of a sudden you look up and 14 games in, they're 9-5. Then
I think a little bigger than that.
No, I'm telling you.
15
right now.
15-9.
That's fine.
It's like a month.
But you know what we'd say if they're 5-9, not 9-5.
I know.
So, but your point's fine. That's fine. Okay, let's say 15-10 or whatever you said, 15-9.
Yeah, that's like a month.
Like then, honestly, if they're 15-9, that's a really nice winning percentage. It's a sustained level of winning series, right? It's 24 games. That's like
some confidence.
And if Jackson Merrill on a 15-9 team is hitting 201, that's a lot less of a talking point than if they're 9-15 and he's hitting 201. So there's cover in winning, and maybe they're capable of getting off to that start that provides someone like Jackson Merrill a little bit of time and provides even some of these stars a chance to that, they don't all have to hit 400 the first 24 games. They need to play good team baseball and get off to a better start than they did a year ago. The funny thing is, with a year ago, we always say they didn't get off to a good start, and they didn't. And they didn't play well. But there was a moment in time they were actually playing half decent. They beat the Dodgers, the Kershaw meme game, and they moved 3 or 4 games over 500. It was 30 games into the season. I want to say it was something like 17-14 or 18-14. And for a brief moment, yeah, they're playing fine. They're playing good baseball. And then it kind of unraveled. But they need to get off to a good start because I just feel like there's going to be so much panic setting in as opposed to 15-9, they're 9-15.
So there's one thing that Alan said that I want to get to, but first, if this team gets to May 1st, they have 32 games.
Okay.
All right. May 1st, 32 games. What is a good record for you?
Through 32 games?
I
love that
through
question.
32 games, because once we get to May 1st, that's how many games they'll get played.
I need to be honest.
Okay.
16-16 or better, because you're fine.
Yeah.
Right. You've cost yourself nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't love 16-16. That's not the sexiest start,
but it keeps you in it.
Yeah.
Well, it's the first month of the season, so
right,
it's fine.
But yeah, exactly. But I mean, honestly, I mean,
it keeps you in it.
I'd prefer to be 17-15 or better. I'd be like, good start. That's fine. You've done what you needed to do. It's not perfect, but you're where you need to be.
Yeah.
The
dream scenarios, you're like, what, 18-15, 19-14?
That's 33.
Oh, sorry.
18-14 or 19-13.
Okay.
Yeah, it'd be amazing. Yeah, that's all of a sudden you've had a good start.
Really good start.
Yeah, and that's what we want to. But it all goes back to that's where I think the Merrill attentions. I think now nobody cares if they win at spring training. So it's 2 for 11. If he's 2 for 11 in the regular season and they're 6-2, no one cares. So fewer people care.
So one thing that Alan said was, and it's not just him saying it, we've talked about it, but the more I think about it, was, well, there's not this pressure on this team this year to win, so maybe that will help them be better.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the difference between this team and last year's team when the pressure was ratcheted up to 100, it felt like. The talent on this year's team is not the talent that was last year.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't matter if you have pressure or not. I am more concerned about the talent. Give me talent every day of the week over I will take the most talent in the world over this amazing amount of pressure. You think the Dodgers don't have pressure on them to win this year?
But you're saying they're the most talented team.
But I'm taking that roster every day of the week.
Mm-hmm.
That talent it outweighs any type of pressure that you have on a team. So yeah, last year's team had a bunch of pressure on it. But guess what? The talent on that roster, I would still take every day of the week, even though it just didn't work out.
Right, but you think that if you were dealt that hand with a talented team 100 times, it would work out more often than not, as opposed to a non-talented team.
It would work out more often than not.
Yeah.
I think it would.
Yep.
This year's team, yeah, it's true. Is the pressure there to win the National League West and win 100 games like last year's team? No, it's not even close to that. It's 84 wins to get in the postseason potentially.
Right.
So there's not much pressure there compared to last year. But the difference is there still could be no pressure on you and you don't have the same talent. Do you think there's any pressure on the Marlins to win? No. But
no.
Do you think that because they have no pressure, they're going to do better? No.
No, probably not. Yeah, that's an interesting way of looking at it. Yeah.
So I rather have the talent every day of the week over this unbearable amount of pressure and expectations.
Sure.
I rather go into every single year with the expectations and the pressure ratcheted up to 100 like it was last year, than go into a season like this year where there's no pressure and the expectations aren't even close to where they were last year.
It's an interesting point. If you want to comment on it, 877-767-4760 or 70470. Start your message with the word team.
And I will say, going into a season with not much pressure and the expectations aren't crazy, if they do win, it does make it better. It does feel better. Oh my gosh,
it's brighter. It's oh wow,
we outperform expectations. I'm sure that if you were a Arizona Diamondbacks fan last year, that season probably had to feel really, really good.
Yeah, a little bit out of thin air.
Oh my God, we're in the World Series.
Yeah,
it sucked to lose the World Series, but I'm sure there's also this like this crazy amount of optimism going into this season and the future seasons with what they did last year and accomplished.
100%. All right, on the other side again, Brian Dutcher show's coming up at 6 p.m. Let's get into San Diego State basketball. March is tomorrow, like the month of March. Starts tomorrow. This would be March if not for a leap year.
Should be today.
Yeah,
but
it should be today, but I don't know how they determine that. What is still to come for San Diego State? What's possible from a seeding perspective? What lies ahead for the Aztecs? If you have a question for Brian Dutcher, you can get it in. He'll join us at 6. The Brian Dutcher Show, 70470. Start your message with the word team. That's next. All right, so imagine waking up this time next week and being 100% debt free. No credit cards, no car loan, no personal loan. Hey guys, it's Schaefer. Loan Pronto's Equity Express line of credit can make it happen. Homeowners are turning their home equity into cash almost instantly with Loan Pronto's AI-based system. You can get approval in about 10 minutes with almost no documentation, no appraisal, and no hassle. You can get hundreds of thousands of dollars out of your home. Use that money to pay off all your other loans. The average homeowner saves over $850 a month doing this. Listen, your home value is way up. You can use that to wipe out all those credit cards, get some money for home improvement. Literally, hundreds of thousands are at your fingertips, and approval is minutes, just minutes away. Call now 619 207 4336. 619 207 4336 or loanpronto.com. That's 619 207 4336. NMLS 1661781. Subject to lender approval, equal housing lender.
All right, this update is brought to you by Taco Bell. Cactus League play today. Padres beat the Oakland A's 5-3. Usuk Go made his spring training debut, going a scoreless inning, striking out 2. Jackson Merrill went 0 for 3 in the game. Moving over to WNBA news, Caitlin Clark, she has declared for the WNBA draft today. Indiana Fever have the number 1 overall pick. And tonight, 6 p.m., half hour from now, will be the Brian Dutcher Coaches Show with John and Coach Dutch right here on San Diego Sports 760. Taco Bell's new Cravings value menu is here, or rather, it's 10 big deals. New items like the loaded nachos to familiar favorites like the spicy potato soft taco. Check it out at participating Taco Bell today. Available for limited time only while supplies last.
Jim's backstage is ahead. All right, let's talk about this Mountain West situation, because this is the situation. San Diego State could be. Here's the stitch. The Aztecs could be anywhere from the 1 seed in the Mountain West tournament, which is in 2 weeks. Is that right? What's today? Thursday. So they could start Thursday as a 1 through 5 seed. They would start Wednesday if they're a 6 seed. They could still be as high as the 1, as low as the 6. Right now, the Aztecs are 11-5. The 2 teams in front of them are 11-4. Boise State and Utah State. There are 2 other teams with 5 losses, Nevada and UNLV, and the Aztecs' next game is at UNLV. And by the way, New Mexico has 6 losses, 1 game behind you at 9-6. So it's a long way of saying that so much is up in the air.
So much.
When it comes to the Mountain West tournament, even though the Aztecs only have 2 games remaining, they could be anywhere from a 1 seed to a 6 seed with 2 games remaining.
Take care of business.
Yep.
And it's all matters. Let everything happen the way it's going to happen. If Utah State ends up winning out here, they don't slip up, and you end up beating Boise State, which you kind of need to do to end your regular season. I mean, if the Aztecs are already slated as a 4 seed in the NCAA tournament, and you don't win your conference regular season title, like that's pretty crazy.
Right. You're saying, see, a lot of times it's like the selection committee, and people sometimes lose track of this. Like, oh, how could a team that went, I'm making it up, 10-8 in the Mountain West? Colorado State's a perfect example. They're 8-8.
Yeah.
How could a 10-8 team in the Mountain West even make the NCAA tournament? But it's not really conference based. Because it's what do they do in the non-conference? Who do they beat in those 10 wins? And that's where San Diego State is getting the benefit. They beat Gonzaga on the road. They put a really challenging non-conference schedule. They have good wins in the league as well. But no, you're right. I mean, there's absolutely a scenario where they don't win the league because Utah State has a path.
And if you're a player on this team, like you want to win your conference,
of course,
regular season title.
They've won a ton of titles. Of course, they do.
You want to win the tournament title. Like last year's team will be known as the best Aztec team ever so far up to this point. And a lot of it not only just has to do, to making the national championship game in any year, no matter what happened in the regular season or their conference tournament, would dub a team the best team ever in program history. But the team won the regular season title. They won the conference tournament title, and they got to the national championship game. Like the amount of banners they hung this past year, if you were on that team, it's like, wow.
Look at all these banners and rings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is it the end all be all? No, it's not, especially if you're pretty much slated to make the NCAA tournament. But if you're on this year's team, you're probably, if you're like the Miles Birds or the Elijah Saunders, Jay Powell's, like you're getting more playing time. I know they were two of those players were part of last year's team, but you're now like fully into the rotation. Miles Heide, right? You want to be a part of a regular season championship team.
They all do.
And
a tournament, like even the Mountain West tournament. If you don't win the regular season, then you want to win the Mountain West tournament championship. Even though you could argue that seeding, we'll see where they are. I mean, maybe seeding is somewhat secure for the NCAA tournament. It doesn't matter. Like they still want to win the Mountain West tournament. There's so many banners at Viejas Arena. There's so many championships. There's so many rings on these players. They've all won rings in some capacity for years and years and years. All these players come through here and win. Now, we always have this conversation. It's like the Padres conversation. I think at the end of the day, are you willing to trade some of these accomplishments before March Madness for March Madness? Are you willing if you had to make a trade?
But they don't.
You don't have to.
You don't have to make a trade.
Well, we'll see. Like they don't control Utah State's destiny.
No.
So even if the Aztecs win in Vegas, UNLV,
Yeah.
Win on Friday. That doesn't. They don't control what Utah State's going to do.
If I told you right now, they don't win the regular season title.
Okay.
They don't even make it to the championship game of the conference tournament.
Okay.
Would you take that, knowing that they make like Elite Eight?
I mean, as opposed to the opposite is we don't know, or we know they finish in the round of 32
right.
or the round of 64.
They make the Elite Eight or better, but they don't win the regular season and they don't win the conference tournament.
How can you turn that down?
I know.
There's only been one team in the history of the conference to make it past the Sweet 16.
I know.
So I can't turn if someone any path to the Elite Eight is we're all on board with, right?
That's right.
That's just how it is.
So that's what I mean. That's what I mean.
Again,
It's like
sometimes you can't have your cake and eat it too.
right. So at the end of the day, it's like that could all be. We could all be forgetting about them not winning a conference regular season or tournament title if they make the Elite Eight, or even if they make the Sweet 16.
I know
coming off the national championship run, that's still a major accomplishment.
Be the 4th Sweet 16 in school history.
Incredible.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. Your point is teams are measured in March.
And they are.
Even though we all season long.
Last year was the perfect storm of they won everything besides the national championship.
Right, exactly.
This year might not be the case. And I think that's okay. Because, like you said, you're measured in March. And if you have, this class, is going to go down as one of the best classes in the history of the program.
Mm-hmm.
If you have back-to-back years of going to the national championship game and like the Sweet 16 appearance or Elite Eight, my gosh.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's incredible.
Yeah, it's been an amazing time. Really, these 20 plus years, Steve Fisher and Brian Dutcher and the players and the banners and the it's just amazing. It really is amazing.
I'll ask this question.
Yep.
You don't win the regular season title. You don't win the conference tournament title.
Okay.
And you don't make it to the second weekend of March, Sweet 16. Would you consider that a disappointing season?
Say it one more time. You don't make it to second. You don't make it to the Sweet 16.
Yeah. You don't make it to.
So you either win 0 game
or 1.
0 games or 1 game.
Yeah.
Would I consider it a disappointment?
Yeah.
No. No. And here, let me explain why. This is very easy for me to do. If San Diego State makes the round of 32 as a 5 seed or even potentially as a 4, they could be an underdog in their second game. As a 5 plays a 4 and a 4 plays a 5, it's seeds hold. But that doesn't mean that if you're a 4 and they're a 5, the 5 could be favored over the 4 because Vegas doesn't care about the seeding. So depending on who you're playing and where, I'll give you an example. San Diego State beats Akron in the round of 64 as making up a 5 seed. I just beat Akron in Spokane to get to the round of 32. And now in the round of 32, this is probably a bad example. Washington State, they've had this amazing year in the Pac-12. They're playing in Spokane, which is how many miles away? It's the same state there. So now all of a sudden, Washington State is a home game against you in the round of 32. I've watched the tournament so much, I understand how hard it is to win, even one game.
What if, okay.
So I will not consider a season where they've been metrically top 20 all year and win a tournament game to be disappointing.
What if they don't win a tournament game?
We'll know how Aztec fans are going to feel about it. We'll have to see the circumstances.
You have raised the expectations.
Yeah,
here,
exactly.
And I even think if you don't at least get to the Sweet 16 with this team, I think it will. I don't see Aztecs fans being like, "It's fine."
No, of course not. That's not how fans are.
No,
that's not how fans are.
In the past, it would be like, "Oh my, accomplishment, made the NCAA tournament." Not with this group, and that's a testament of just how good they have been. To say, hey, if you don't win at least a tournament game or hell, even get to the Sweet 16, it's considered like kind of a disappointment.
Right, which is a good thing, I guess, in what they've done with the program.
Which is a testament, yes, to Brian Dutcher in this program that there's this expectation now of a lot of winning.
I will say this. They have Jaden Ledee on their team. Yes. He has been a dominant force. They will not be an easy out because they just aren't. The way
they'll play good defense.
All year, correct me if I'm wrong, they've been out of 1 game late. It was at New Mexico. Like every other game they lost was winnable. That in overtime. Who did they just lose to on the road?
The Utah State game on the road. What was the game they lost by a point on the road? Was that Utah State or Nevada?
Well, Nevada, they lost in overtime. They lost to Boise State by a point on the road.
I think the Boise State game, it was a constant 7-8 point game the entire time.
Yeah, it was like between.
And they kind of made like a couple
right.
buckets at the end.
They did to lose by
Yeah.
1. But my point is like they've been beaten by more than single digits one time.
Yeah, I get.
So
what
they're
you're
like
saying.
they're in all the games they play.
Right. I get what you're saying. They
Other
haven't
than
been
basically
blown off the court all this year. The BYU game at the beginning of the year, but
That was a single digit game.
I know it was.
Yeah.
And they made a little bit of a comeback in the end, but the Florida, what was the team?
What?
Who did they play on the road? I forget the team they play on the road. Not Florida.
Team on the road. Oh,
Grand Canyon.
Oh, I don't know what the final of that was. They might have lost that game by 10 points. I forget.
Yeah.
I have to look it up.
Grand Canyon. I think that was the only.
Yeah.
I think that game was like a constant 10-point game the entire time.
They all blur together. All right, Jim's back page. Brian Dutcher at 6 p.m. Stay with us. All right, Jim's back page is next. Dutcher in about 13 minutes right here on San Diego Sports 760. If you have a question for the head coach of the Aztecs with 2 games to go in the regular season, get them in. I'll get to them on the show. 70470. Start your message with the word team. Again, 70470. Start it with the word team. We'll get to all your questions with Brian Dutcher coming up at 6 p.m.
Doesn't seem like they just started.
The season?
Yes.
Kind of. That's how it always goes, especially when you're really good. And San Diego State has routinely been really good. The seasons go quick and you're good. Maybe not as much if you're not good. Jim is, I think, preparing for Backpage.
No.
What?
No, I'm not.
No.
There's other things that are happening.
Really?
Yeah, doctor related stuff.
Kidney stone gate
Yeah,
related.
yeah.
What's the update?
Not great.
What do you mean?
I don't want to talk about it.
Okay, let's get to this then.
John, would you want to take home the, I guess, diner booth from the last scene of The Sopranos? Would you want that?
Not me. I have seen The Sopranos, but no, that's not something that is right up my alley.
Yeah, like the actual.
I mean,
booth.
I think it's cool for someone, I'm sure.
Own the Booth featured in one of the dumbest show endings of all time.
See, I don't remember the show ending.
It just cut to black.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I don't fully remember it.
Like he looks behind, he looks
Yeah.
at the door,
Yeah,
and then just cuts to black.
You had to watch
Okay.
the family park outside the diner for 5 minutes and then just cut to black.
Weird.
Yeah,
Well, because they're making you think one of them's going to get whacked, and then
Right.
nothing
I
happened.
know nothing happens. Well,
that is interesting.
if you want it, it is up for auction right now on eBay
Oh wow.
with 4 days remaining. The booth, the bidding for that booth,
Yeah.
is up to guess what number or
The
how
way you
much?
say it, $100,000.
No, okay.
No, $850.
$25,300.
$800, Brent. That's like the cost of an actual booth.
Well, yeah, it's a booth and add a little bit onto it.
This is the So this is the booth
You're
from
not
the
buying
final
the whole
scene of
diner.
Sopranos, and $25,000 if you want this booth.
And I'm good. I think I have a better way to spend $25K.
John's more of a table guy, anyways.
Yeah, I'm good. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
I like booth.
It is Leap Day.
Oh yeah, we haven't even mentioned that. Bear in the lead.
Circle K is offering San Diego drivers 40 cents off gas on Leap. That came out of nowhere. On Leap Day.
40 cents off. Why? Because it's leap day.
Yeah. So you have until 7 p.m. right now
Get over there.
to get to a Circle K. To
Slam on the
40,
gas.
to get 40 cents off your gas.
Okay, you got 70 minutes, unless you're listening to the podcast,
Correct.
to get over there.
Correct.
40 cents per gallon. So, okay, filling up 15 gallons, you're saving tonight $6+ on gas, which is good. That's good
Yeah.
savings. Yeah,
Pretty good.
that is.
Pretty good. So go over there right now.
Get over there right now.
Yeah. Taco Bell collaborates with Tajin on a new menu
cool.
item available at only one location.
Where?
Taco Bell has chosen one California city as the testing grounds for 3 new items. In partnership with Tajin, the Mexican spice blend, Taco Bell would test the Tajin Crunchy Taco, Tajin Twists, and the Tajin Strawberry Freeze at its Irvine location for a limited time until March 6th.
Wow.
Here are the 3 items. Tajin Crunchy Taco. Crunchy Taco seasoned with Tajin, featuring seasoned beef, flavored ranch sauce, crispy lettuce, real shredded cheddar cheese, and a mango salsa.
That sounds good. Really good.
Tajin Twist is a crispy puffed corn twist sprinkled with a bold Tajin seasoning. And then the Strawberry Freeze is a wild strawberry freeze with real mango pieces, Tajin fruity chamoy sauce, and Tajin packed on the side for a customizable sprinkling. What?
I don't know. I'm just laughing. Oh, my. Are you going to get over there?
No, John, I will not.
Take advantage of it.
Well, it's in Irvine, so it's not.
It's not that far, right? If it's in Irvine, you can get up there. You could save 40 cents per gallon over at Circle K tonight. Use the savings, drive up to Irvine.
Right.
What else you have?
Finally, you know the Surge pricing on all the Wendy's stuff.
Did they get rid of that already?
Well, this story isn't
Kinda.
but this isn't like it's about Burger King. Burger King is letting customers know that they can have it their way after competitor Wendy's received backlash for plans to implement a dynamic pricing model. Burger King customers can receive a free Whopper or Impossible Whopper with a $3 purchase until March 1st at participating U.S. locations. The offer is only available on the BK app or the website. So again, get to a Burger King today before time runs out.
I love how, what was it? Was it yesterday you started reading? So you're like, oh, this expired 2 days ago.
No, I said it expired earlier in the day. A lot of my stories, like I have, and by the time I get to it on the back page, they've already been like expired, or like you have like an hour left to do it.
That's a problem with the strategy of the story.
Well, I did the leap year story yesterday, so I gave you plenty of time to go to places to get special leap year deals.
And our listeners appreciated that.
Burger King's
I bet they did.
Burger King's tweet was pretty funny too. They said the only thing surging at BK is the flame. We don't believe in charging people more money when they're hungry.
Wow, so they took a shot at Wendy's just like that.
Well, because people accuse them of price gouging.
Right.
So
see, the tricky thing is they said they're not surge pricing is going away, but now they're calling it dynamic pricing. So we'll see what happens with that. Yeah.
Okay. And just to remind you of all the leap deals, you can buy a dozen donuts from Krispy Kreme, get a second dozen for $2.29. Chipotle offering free side of guacamole today. You can pull apart order from today. Staples is giving away 29,000 free passport photos today. Dunkin' Donuts is offering $2 medium coffees today. And the Burger King is offering free Whoppers through tomorrow.
Very cool. Good stuff, Jim. All right, Brian Tucker will join us on the other side of the Brian Tucker Show. 2 regular season games remain Tuesday night in Vegas against UNLV. Then a week from tomorrow, senior night at Viejas Arena, the final regular season game of the year for San Diego State. So if you have questions, 70470 team, we will get your questions. 70470 started with team. If you missed anything today, iHeartRadio app, you can find us on social at Jon and Jim or Brent and Jim. Jim, you're right off the stage. I'm Jon. Brian Tucker Show on the other side. Stay with us.